Welcome everyone to the Nerd Nook. I'm your host Evan Teagle. With me, like always, is my animated friend Noah Bailey.
That's one way to put it.
And this week we have something very special for you. This week we are ranking our top 10 animated cartoons. And I feel this list in particular might be the hardest one we've done so far because
Yeah.
first of all, these shows like are ones we literally grew up with, since we were little. And unlike Pixar and Marvel and the other lists we've done, there's not like a set number that we can really pick from. Like Marvel had what,
hmm
19 when we did it. We
Yeah.
can't like there's not like, oh, here's all of them, rank them accordingly. There's some we had to like specifically say no, you are not good enough to be in the top 10 of this, which I hate.
Okay.
I hate it so much
Yeah.
making this list, but I love it. Okay.
And it's hard because there's like you said, there's literally like thousands of
hmm
cartoons, from the time. Because we're in our 20s now. It's like from the time we started watching cartoons up till now, there's been so much on the air. There's so much going on,
hmm
and like it's not just like, oh, let me pick this one, that one, that one. Like, you start out like, okay, this one's got to be on, this one's got to be on there. And then you realize you've picked 37 cartoons, like, this one's got to be on there. And you're like, oh
Oh,
no,
oh
I picked
no.
far too many. And you've got to start picking and choosing and putting cartoons
Mhm.
against each other. It's like, which one as a kid was I like, yes, I need this? And which one am I like, and you don't want to bring in bias. You're like, okay, but how much should I factor in for nostalgia? How much should I factor in for how good it
Oh,
is?
the
You don't want to
nostalgia
let
factored in heavily with this list.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying. But I'm trying to weigh it in with checks and
Mhm.
balances, but I'm also trying to put in like, all right, like don't base it off of what other people think. Don't look at
Mhm.
scores or like how many awards the show got. This is for me. So it's like there's so many factors you got to bring into making a list this condensed, this small. And it's like there's 10 shows. And 10 like I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of cartoons in
Oh
my
yeah.
day. I
Oh
assume
yeah. I
you've
think
seen the
at one
same.
point I literally had 25 entries I had to
Oh
like
yeah.
cut down and
Yeah, no,
yeah.
there was a big list of cuts. There was like 3 sets of cuts. I'm like, all right, you didn't make the cut. I'm sorry, show. I love you, but I just feel we're going in a different direction. There are some tears. Some shows I've been ride or die with since the day one. They were like, I have to cut you off. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
but it's been a process. But I
And
think we
this
made it.
list
I
could
don't know.
easily this list could easily change tomorrow, but right
Oh,
now
it
this is
might
what I'm
change.
going with.
I don't know. This list might change like mid-show. Like I don't know. They'd be like, wait,
hmm
no, let me do the right thing, like erase something completely, and
hmm
just, oh goodness.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
It's also very important to note that I made a call here to say that anime like Pokemon, Dragon Ball, Yu-Gi-Oh, etc. It wouldn't really be fair since those could easily be in a different list entirely. So we're taking
Right.
those, even though those are pivotal shows for our childhood, Pokemon, Dragon Ball, respectively, whatever. Like
Definitely Dragon Ball Z.
I don't, I feel they could easily be in a different list. So we're we're talking about specifically American shows. So yeah, they'll get their due some other time more than likely.
Hmm.
Okay, so you want to go first? How do
You
you
go
want to do this?
ahead. You go
Okay,
ahead. Oh my
okay.
gosh.
Starting off, my number 10 is Looney Tunes.
Hmm.
I felt that I could not make this list without essentially putting on the show that just started cartoons as to what they are right now. Like,
Right.
not only do I just love this show, just I love Bugs Bunny, Roadrunner, Coyote, just all of those characters, and they're timeless classics. Every single episode, just if they ever show a rerun on Cartoon Network, I'm always watching it pretty much. I not only do I love this show, do I love all these characters, but I feel I just needed to pay tribute to the show that it wasn't like the first cartoon, but it was one of the first major ones in color. It's the one that really kind of set the formula for shows to come, and I feel like shows like Tom and Jerry, etc., wouldn't exist without Looney Tunes. So
Right.
I felt like I'd be doing this list a disservice if I did not put Looney Tunes on there.
That's
And
fair.
like I said, the show itself has a lot of merit. Just as like even if it wasn't the first one, I would probably still want it on here just because, like I said, all these characters are timeless classics. They like Bugs Bunny is one of my favorite characters of all time. He's so witty. Uh, and just the fact that all these different characters can interact with each other in so many different, unique ways. Like one of my favorite episodes of Looney Tunes is when Bugs Bunny shows up in a Roadrunner Coyote episode, and like, actually, it might have happened a couple of times, but like, just the idea that, like, yes, this somewhat repetitive yet still really funny set of Roadrunner Coyote, you can just insert Bugs Bunny in there, and it's even better, and just stuff like that, and just yeah, I love this show to pieces, and I don't. Yeah, I'm just gonna. I'm done rambling. Okay.
No, I mean, no. I mean, feel free to talk. It's like,
Mm.
it's one of your favorite shows ever. Like, feel free to splurge, talk. I mean, explain it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've said pretty much everything I need to say. Like, I mean, I've pretty much just be repeating myself at this point, just
Mm.
pretty much gushing. So, um,
Shed a tear.
yeah. Like
Oh,
literally, legitimately speaking, when I started making this list, putting that at number 10 was the first thing I did. Like it wasn't. I didn't like. I knew my number one going in, but also like I knew this need to book it at number 10 because like I just felt it hit every single category of it checked every mark of what I love in cartoons. Has a nostalgia factor. It has just the history behind it and
mhm.
all the characters and just timeless episodes and yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's fair. Like,
Mm.
it's all right. So
Now
my
you're number
number
10.
My number 10, I put Star Wars: The Clone Wars. And
Nice.
here's why.
Very nice.
It's obviously, if you've seen our channel, it's obvious that we both love Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I love about The Clone Wars, we may have brought it up once or twice. Once or twice. But in all seriousness, the reason I put this show on there is because as I like there's two things I love. I love how certain characters are either what I love about them is just reinforced or just completely fixed in
Mm.
a way.
Like
And
Anakin
yeah,
was
I
fixed
don't believe
by
it.
the show.
That's literally 70% of what I'm talking about. The Anakin Skywalker in this show made Anakin Skywalker my favorite character in all of Star Wars.
Wow.
Because this is the person he's supposed to be from the
Hmm.
beginning. This
Yeah.
makes everything else make sense. Because if you take the Anakin, the Hayden Christensen that are out of the prequel and put this guy in it, everything else that happens in all of Star Wars
Hmm.
completely makes 1,000 times more sense.
Yeah.
This guy is a straight up amazing leader. Really is the best star pilot in the galaxy. There are multiple episodes where he either outsmarts, outmaneuvers, or outguns whatever the enemy has to throw at him. Dude is a straight up warrior. Actually leads his troops into battle. The troops love this guy. They
Hmm.
rally around this guy. I mean, he's basically the person I describe him as the most in battle is, have you seen like Troy?
Hmm.
Like Achilles and Troy. That's
Yep.
basically this guy. I mean, he's the guy who is literally unshakable, this titan who just levels the battlefield. Follow me to victory. I mean, this is the guy that it would make. And the thing I love about it too is that like the reason that you start to see how his like opinions start to shift from the Jedi is because of it makes it because he's thinking more military mind
Mm.
than peacekeeper as the Jedi can do it, and
Yeah.
that completely makes sense because the war's been going on pretty much since he's been a Jedi Knight. He was a Jedi Knight because of this war, so
Hmm.
obviously that's a big reason why he's 1,000% into the military, into we need to win this battle, stop these, all this stuff. And it makes so much sense as the series goes on. I won't spoil it, but a lot of things that happen lead to him, like, disagreeing with the council on multiple occasions, breaking rules at times. The council not liking, obviously, him breaking this rule. Hostilities build, leading towards the ultimate, when making his turn to the dark side not seem completely out of left field because of some random dream he had. It all makes sense because it's been building for years. And his, not necessarily evil, but like his ability to make more dark actions at times doesn't seem completely outrageous and out of nowhere because, when we're at war, you do whatever it takes to win because the enemy's willing to do the same. So you have to.
I mean, him killing younglings in episode 3 did kind of come out of left field still.
Again, that's after the fact, though. He's full Sith Lord at that point. That's just straight up evil. But, like, other stuff, like, just, like, being more ruthless in the ways of the Force and just not caring, casually force choking and or stabbing / beheading people. Like, it builds up over the course of the series, subtly sometimes, but it's just great. And not even just him. And another character I want to talk about is one character that I originally hated. And Ahsoka Tano originally was just thrown in there 100% just, to have another, like, girl Jedi.
That movie did her no justice. Like, that movie's kind of bad, honestly.
And that's the thing. Like, that's the introduction to this character. You're like, are they really going to do this? Really?
Yeah.
You're just going to
like,
put this
episode
character
3, he freaked out because he's not a master yet. He randomly has his apprentice now.
Yeah, it's
like she makes no sense in this world. Like,
none of this is going to make any sense. And like, a season in, you're like, okay, she's kind of cool. And, like, by the 3rd or 4th season, this character is legit ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, amazing. She's straight up she's a baller, like, badass, if I say. Like, literally, she's very skilled. Obviously, you can tell she learned from Anakin because she's very skilled. She's a good pilot. She's a strong leader, even at her young age. And, like, you can see her personality totally matures. Her character greatly develops. She has a great rapport with her clones, which is super important because that's one of the reasons everyone loves Anakin. And she's basically building up to be this excellent leader and character. And there's multiple arcs where she's, like, on her own and does amazing regardless. And, like, it really makes you fall in love with the character. And when it comes to, as the series goes on, you just fall in love with this character. And, it's really good. And, like, other stuff, like I was mentioned earlier, like, it reinforces the things you love. The 2 things I love already about Star Wars that got reinforced is, 1, Obi-Wan is amazing.
Yeah.
This dude, Obi-Wan Kenobi is hilarious in the show because he's literally just making jokes the entire time. Just casually, like, his sarcasm is legendary throughout the galaxy.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many scenes with him and Anakin that are just, like, the most hilarious, and they get into these, like, random situations all the time and just have, like, they build that brother relationship that you don't see in the movies.
Yeah,
and
I would have loved to see just one of those adventures happen within one of the prequel movies, and that's pretty much what this entire show is. And
that's what
really
I'm saying. Like,
watch.
This is literally, like, the first, like, 4 seasons is just Anakin and Obi-Wan doing stuff. And, like, it sounds boring, but it's in the middle of a war, so it's really not. And when, clones are getting, shot, ripped apart, and, other ambiguous deaths that are terrifying, like, it's kind of cool, settling to have, Obi-Wan and Anakin still joking and stuff. So it just levels it out, and it's just. And the other thing that the show really loves is that it really makes you love not just, like, war, because, Star Wars, but it's all just, like, the clones and the battle. Like, the clones are not just copies.
Yeah, like, they're not just expendable. Like,
exactly,
they each have names,
that's
each have personalities, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They have names, they have different personalities, and, like, when you get to the point in the show where you can name a clone based on his armor, that's how you know you've gotten attached. When you see Echo or Fives or any of these guys, and, like, just how, and you see them progress throughout the show, you know, like Jesse or any of these guys
Mm-hmm.
that are all, as the show goes on, you see like a season or two later, like, hey, there's my man, like
Yeah.
he's still doing work, still doing stuff, and like the clones have some of the best art in the show. Like, I don't know if you've seen the part with Krell, but that's one of the best
Yes.
parts.
Oh, and
It's
one of the clones that in like season 2 helped that young Twilight girl. Like one of them dies during that fight when both the clones
I
are killing each other. Like,
know.
and like you recognize that name. It's like, oh, like you, like we've been like kind of following this guy in the background ever since then. And like, oh, this is so sad because like I liked him.
I don't, because there's so much build up and there's development, and like when you see clones die, it's not just like, oh, now we only have 999, so it's like, bro, no, like it's just like you feel so much for these characters that originally were all just CGI, and it brings a whole new level of Star Wars, and like when I heard they're bringing it back, I'm just like, yes, because there's more story to tell, even more stuff to patch up, more connecting to other stuff. Like, the show's so good.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. You got anything more to say? Okay, we'll move on.
I mean, okay, like with any show, there's always like down episodes because there are some
Any episode
episodes
with the droid or Jar Jar,
Yeah.
I skip.
Yeah, basically, yes. I was like, oh, Jar Jar episode. All right, Netflix.
Like
Boom.
I'm on season 5, and literally the next couple, like next 3 episodes are just an R2D2 adventure. I'm just like I don't think there'll really be anything that matters in these episodes. I'm just gonna skip it.
Yeah, those aren't the best ones. Like, is it like the droid team or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go ahead and skip those. They're not that great, but there's so many. But but don't skip too far because right after that,
Yeah.
stuff is good.
Yeah.
So trust me, you don't want to skip too far. Stuff's about to get crazy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm like halfway through season 5, and I'm really excited to finally finish that show. It probably, like, spoiler, it's actually in my top 10, mainly only because I haven't actually finished it yet. I meant to finish it before now, but just I haven't got around to it.
Yeah.
But my number 9 is a show that I feel came out at the perfect time in my life for me to just love this show, Phineas and Ferb. That show is 10 years old.
Oh man.
That show came out in the summer of 2008. I was 10 years old at the time.
It's
Like,
way older than you think.
literally the perfect age to just love this show. It's so creative. It's like the characters were the same age as me, or roughly the same age as me.
Mm-hmm.
Every single character, had like they were tropes, but at the same time, like they were done very well. Like, you had the bully character, you had the nerd, you had the girl who was in love with Phineas, and Phineas was just the oblivious smart kid. And like one thing that I thought for sure would have gotten annoying is that every single episode has the exact same plot.
Mm-hmm.
The boys and other neighbor characters, build some contraption. Candace wants to bust them. She has her own venture trying to get mom to see it. They have their own adventure with whatever contraption, while Perry is fighting Doofenshmirtz, and something Doofenshmirtz does destroys the machine. That happens for like 99% of the episodes, and it never gets old. I don't know how they did it. I don't know what magic they, like Disney or whoever, produced to make every single episode enjoyable. But they did it. And I feel that alone just pushes it over the edge to be one of my favorite shows of all time, because even after going back like this past summer, it was just on Disney XD, and I was like, I haven't watched this show. It'd been like a year or two since I've seen an episode. Like, I'll watch the show again. And like, it was the newer episode, and it was just the same show. Like, all the characters sounded the same, the plot was the same, and like they even had some of the same jokes that like weren't that hadn't gotten old yet. And like, I still love this show. and again, like I said, like maybe if this show had come out like a few years ago, I wouldn't have really been as into it since I wasn't, necessarily at the right age to really get into it. I wouldn't have connected as much with the characters, but because it came out literally the summer of the year I was the same age as these kids in their summer vacation, like it was just a microcosm of perfect opportunity for me to just fall in love with the show, and like as every time it's on TV, I watch it every time. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Very good show. Very good show. All right. So my number 9, I put The Fairly Odd Parents.
Okay.
And this show, this is one of the shows that I grew up with. Like, it was on Nickelodeon. There was 2 shows I was watching up to a certain point. It was like, all right, if SpongeBob's not on, is Fairly Odd Parents coming on next?
Yep.
Let's do it. And the reason that this show, although I watched this show a lot growing up, the reason I have it lower at 9 is because as it went on, it got considerably worse.
Yeah, that is one show. That is one show that kind of got to the point where every episode also kind of felt the same. Like Timmy made a wish. The wish went bad. Hey, Cosmo wanted to fix it. Oh, our wands are gone. Timmy has to fix it himself. They get their wands back. He wishes it all back to normal. Episode over. Like every single episode is like that after a certain point. But like the first couple seasons are really freaking good. So I'm not surprised it's on the list.
Yeah, and like the reasons like the first ones were really good is because like although they were wishes that you would obviously think of if you were a kid with magic, you're like, oh, like ice cream for every meal. Or no, every day was Christmas. That was one of the episodes, like the obvious wish. Every kid's thought of that. And it kind of just like, all right, bet. And then like immediately showed you why this is a terrible idea. It kind of showed you why kids shouldn't, run the world. But it does it in ways that are fun. And like, I have to point out, there are 2 characters in this show that made this show the greatest show, like hilarious. Cosmo and Timmy's dad, who doesn't actually have a name. His name's just Timmy's dad, which is hilarious. And
they're voiced by the same person, by the way.
I know. And it's great because they're let me talk about Timmy's dad for a second. This dude was like certifiably insane, but had the realest beef ever, and the other dude didn't even know. Like, oh my god, like I don't like it's just like it's insane because like he'll just say so much dumb stuff and just get beat up and like. Oh my god, dude! Timmy's dad is just hilarious. Like Timmy's dad is literally the reason my dad hates cartoons because Timmy's dad. Every time I watch the show, my dad thinks, "Oh, why do they make all the dads in cartoons stupid?" And I'm like, "Dad, it's only this show and The Simpsons and
every single Disney sitcom and every single Nickelodeon sitcom."
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And Jimmy Neutron. I was thinking, it's only this and The Simpsons and Jimmy Neutron and Family Guy. And like I'm starting to name like 12 shows where the dads are retarded. I was like, oh, maybe this is a trend. Like, oh no. But no, it was like that was the show that just, oh my god. And then Cosmo. Yo. I think the funniest jokes Cosmo had would be the ones where he would either casually throw Wanda under the bus or just like say something so stupid,
Yeah.
Like one time they were one time they were fish and the dad's like, ooh, we could eat your fish. They're low in fat. And then Cosmo goes, low fat. He hasn't seen you in shorts. And I like lost it. Like I legit like cried on my couch. Like me and my brother are just absolutely losing it. Like I can't. Because the thing is, you expect Cosmo to say nothing that makes sense. Every other word out of his mouth is something dumb. But then he'll just say like an amazing like burn on something, or just something so funny. And just like, oh my gosh. And like, like I'll admit, like Timmy was funny with some of his jokes, it would just be like, oh, what? He'll just say something dumb and then Wanda's the voice of reason, But it's funny because she's like the stereotype nagging wife, nagging. It's like there's a lot of like interesting tropes with this show. And then, I almost forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Crocker.
That's what I thought you were going to say before.
Oh my gosh. No, I almost forgot. But that dude also, like, I love how, like, I want to know what, like, Butch Hartman, like, went into design this guy. Because this dude, literally, if you look at this dude, literally, his ear is on his neck.
Yeah.
Not only is that impossible, but, like, what? Like,
the episode with Crocker's origins, where like after his fairies went away, like he grew like the weird teeth in his ear, like moved down his neck.
He like casually just like went down like 10. I'm like, what is that? Your ear just goes down 10 inches on your face, like your body. How does that work? And like, he was so cool too. That was the funny thing. He's like, oh no, oh my gosh, and the other fairies are, that's such a good show, dude. And like,
I love Jorgen.
Like every joke.
He was my favorite character.
Dude, Jorgen is so funny. He's like, why did you scramble the fairies? I like to scramble the fairies. Like throwing like he just casually.
Why did you destroy the bridge? We could have just poofed. I like to destroy the bridge.
He's like, I'm huge. Let me deal. Like it's very Arnold Schwarzenegger like self. Like, oh my god. And like, I don't know, just the characters work really well. And like, it's just the writing's really good too, because like, you know, it'll be like I remember one episode where Timmy's rich like nemesis or whatever, Remy or whatever, comes in. He's like pretending to be nice to Timmy, and then he's like, whoa, rich. He's like, people don't walk when you have rich friends. And then Chester and AJ are just like, hey man, you rich? He's like, nah, all right, bro, let's walk. And it just walk like poor peasants, and I'm just like, no. Like, oh my god, there's so many good episodes, so many good jokes, and like I said, it does go downhill. Like, Poof wasn't a bad addition, but
and they kept adding more.
Sparky, and then there was like some girl. Like I haven't seen it in years, but like there's another girl. Yeah, like let it die, y'all. Let it die. Yeah. But
also that show kind of had the issue of making every single character lean into their tropes so hard that like also like they pitched up Cosmo's voice to like be super high pitched, and then he like everything he said was like stupid for the sake of being stupid. Right. Wanda was only super naggy. Timmy was like every single character was like their entire character was just their trope.
Right.
And also one problem also the show kind of had was that, like I said, Jorgen was like one of my favorite characters because he just like showed up as like the giant fairy in the sky.
Right.
And no one noticed. Like that was like for a long time you just kind of thought, oh, he's this huge, entity. And then later, as the show went on, like he started showing up more and more in episodes, and like he started to kind of lose, and like he started to have more have a personality, which made him less interesting. And like it, yeah, I don't really know, I don't really like what they did with him specifically, but
yeah.
But like the first half of the show was pretty darn good.
Oh yeah, and I mean that's the thing with cartoons. Sometimes they're great the whole time. Sometimes they run out of gas.
Yeah. Like some shows get canceled too early. Some shows go on forever and just kill themselves. Yeah. So, my number 8 is Codename Kids Next Door.
I love that show. Oh.
Another show that I think came out at like just the perfect time for me as a kid. Like this show was one of the most creative shows I have ever seen. Like every single weapon is made out of like milk boxes and like just random planks of wood and like
and they all
plungers
have acronyms.
Yeah.
And they kind of make most of them make sense. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And like all 5 of the main cast, they're all super entertaining. They all like all their personalities like clash, but also like work very well together. And just the idea that like every single kid when you're growing up, you like every single kid has this idea that teenagers and up are just evil. And like you want to do everything in your power to not grow old and get boring and dumb. Right. And like this show is like essentially that concept just taken to the extreme, like literally a war between the kids next door and the teenagers, like just some of the stuff the teenagers do, like it. One of my favorite lines from the show is um, I can't remember her, but number five's sister, like
Oh, Cree.
yeah, Cree. Every single episode she's in ends with her all going according to plan. It's like you failed, yet you like like what is his plan? And like we never really found out, but like it's all going to plan.
Oh.
Or like the battle ready armor is just a
No, okay, no. No, that episode, I have a story about that.
go.
Oh my God. Okay, so me and my brother. Okay, no, I mean, it's not even a story. It's just that that is the episode that I can just say that's what Resi are, and my brother just immediately just like, just like pretend. Like, that was such a funny episode because they're just running around in bras, like trying to fight.
Uh-huh.
Oh my. And the thing is, at the end, they're right.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's hilarious. Like, that's the thing. Like, you know, it's like, no, this is too stupid, even for this show. You can't just run around. These aren't, you know, and it's like, no, it's actually like a fighting machine. Like, this stuff's crazy. But it's,
Oh yeah.
so funny. It's so dumb, but it's so great. And like, literally, like, and like, as the show went on, as it got, the bigger that the show got, like world building wise, the better it got.
Oh yeah,
Like,
which is
when it
very
got to,
rare
like,
for a show like this. But yeah,
right? You know, but like when it got to like the moon base level stuff, I was like, oh, this stuff is ridiculous. This show is amazing on set.
yeah.
It's so well built. But go on, I'm taking away from your rant.
No,
Go.
it's fine. One of my favorite gags in the show is number 3 has this like robot rabbit that's like this like war machine, and every single time she tries to use it, it just dies instantly.
And then when it's done, she gets thrown out of a parachute, and then she gets thrown out, and then she like falls, and then the parachute comes out way after she like falls in her face. Oh my God.
I think the first one that the robot rabbit was used in, they were fighting this like giant radish, radish creature or whatever, and like it shows up and like starts this like charge up feature with like all these like guns and missiles and stuff, and then like about to fire and just like poof, just dies. It's like, as a kid, like part of me is like I wanted to see that, but another side was like that's too funny to complain about.
No, hilarious. Like, all the build up to just. Oh my gosh. Or like, oh, that's such a good show. And
Oh,
like,
and Father, and just every single villain in the show is just perfect. But like, he was like one of my first like introductions into like a real like villain like you know I hadn't really watched much Batman content, so like I knew who the Joker was, but like I didn't like really love him like I do now. But like Father was like the villain of the show, and like he was really and it's funny because like he's the only villain in that show that like really takes things seriously, and like it shows how he interacts with other villains, and like everyone around me is just so incompetent. Like it's and the delightful kids from down the lane.
Oh my gosh!
Who are all voiced by the same person, just like
they're so creepy. They all move in unison at the same time. It's so creepy. It's so weird. It's just like, what is this? And like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff in that show that's just so kind of like like sodas like illegal if you're not 13, and they have like prohibition.
my favorite episode and my favorite scene in all of Kids Next Door is so the delightful kids had like taken over the school by becoming the 5th grade class president, and like they started to like wage war in the high school or whatever, and like the high school, like so the kids are like starting like get ready for war, and the high school just like comes over the horizon. It's like the whole school just like moves in the horizon, and then like they're fighting the high schoolers, and they knock like the lead. I can never remember like the lead high schooler's name.
Oh, you're talking about Chad?
Yeah, of course it's Chad.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like knock Chad off his bike and like he like skids like into the principal's office. And like I didn't get it was a Star Wars reference at first, but obviously it's a Star Wars reference. And then like the school just like tips over. It's like Chad, why is there a bicycle in my office? And it just like sinks into the ground.
That is a really good episode. That whole episode is basically like the second half of Star Wars. This is really good.
Just, like the school's like exploding and just like why is this happening right now?
It's great because it's in the mindset of kids, so like in their world that's actually happening. That's the cool thing. It's so oh my god, that show it's so pure, but it's such a good show.
And also like literally every single episode is just a reference to something, and like you don't mind because like kids will be like when you were a kid, when you played you played Star Wars, you played just whatever.
Right.
So like these are kids essentially act like in like the canon of the show. Essentially, I like to think that these kids are essentially like acting out these adventures, and like these are just essentially how they're perceiving this world as they're all playing together, basically. So it makes sense that a lot of them would have Star Wars references or like superhero references, whatever. Like it just makes sense, so I don't mind it. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. I love that show so much.
That's such a good show. All right, my number 8 is Spider-Man, the '90s cartoon.
Oh, okay.
This is so this show is the reason why I love Spider-Man.
Makes sense.
Because Spider-Man is cool, but like this show basically tells, okay, this is what it's like if you live Spider-Man. Because I think out of any superhero show I've ever seen, I think this one had the best balance of alter egos on any show I've ever seen. Because like a lot of times when you watch, a Batman or a Superman, you're like, oh, let me just change into my costume. But this guy literally, it's like a lot of the show is like half the time he has to figure stuff out as Peter Parker. So like, and that's the thing, Peter Parker's like not just a dude. He's in the show he's a college student in high school, but I still has to figure stuff out. He still has other responsibilities. When he's not there for stuff, people notice. It's not like you're Bruce Wayne, you can just disappear. Like when you're not there for, Aunt May says, hey, be home for dinner, and you're swinging around, the Green Goblin's trying to blow you up, like you're not here for dinner. It's not just like, oh, it's like you're grounded. And I was like, okay, how can I be Spider-Man and be grounded? Like, like real problems if I was a superhero. What would I have to deal with? And it really does Spider-Man well because it's very comic book accurate because they have different arcs that are very good with the comic book. And also, I love how throughout the show they introduce so many Marvel characters. There's different arcs with everyone from Blade, Iron Man. They've got the Fantastic Four for a little bit. The whole X-Men. Like
because those cartoons were running at the same time, weren't they?
Exactly, yeah. So they have a whole arc with X-Men. And the thing that's so great about it, it's not just having them in there just to say, hey, we're Marvel, we can do that. It actually makes complete sense because when the X-Men come in, Spider-Man's struggling with his man-spider mutation. He goes to Professor Xavier because who else knows better about mutations?
Okay.
And Spider-Man's dealing with Morbius, who's a vampire. Blade shows up because he hunts vampires. It makes sense. Like, it's not just, oh, I'm here because comic books. It's like, no, these stories all make sense. When Peter Parker gets framed, who's his lawyer? Matt Murdock.
Nice.
It makes sense.
Very
like,
nice.
Like stuff works together really well, and like it's really good. Spider-Man is also hilarious in that show, which really helps because a lot of superheroes are not that fun. At least not in my experience, like growing up with cartoons. So a lot of superheroes were not funny. This guy was actually hilarious. Like he would make jokes. And you're like, oh, dude, if I was the bad guy, I would be dead because I was laughing. Like, that was really clever. And, like, it's just really well put together. And the thing I also like about it is it's not one of those shows, unlike what I thought originally, it's not one of those shows you just pop in and, oh, Spider-Man saves the day, episode over. The whole show is just one long story.
Cool.
And it's really good because if you pop in without seeing other, because stuff is referenced throughout the show constantly.
Mm-hmm.
There's season 2 stuff being referenced in season 4. Like it's all comes back to stuff, which is really good. It's a really good story, and you've got arcs, and you've got build up, and you've got villains that are great. And like for me, the Green Goblin in the show, who is very underused, I will say, he's only in like a handful of episodes, but this dude is great. Like he legit, like, because you're introduced to the Hobgoblin first, who was also
Mark Hamill. So I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know, which I didn't know originally, but then I was like, oh, no wonder I love this guy so much. He's also the Joker. So like, but it's so great because like I look at it now before when I was a kid. Like I recently watched this show over the summer with my brother, and we ate it up because the Hobgoblin is that villain who will literally be like, oh, you like that? I'm gonna take that from me, and then you're gonna pay me to get it back. Like he's literally like he's the pettiest villain on the world. It's hilarious because you're like, oh man, what? Like like villains will be fighting for something. You're like, what will make this awful? And I was just like, I'm like, wait for it. And the Hobgoblin takes the whole thing and and the whole thing is just about, okay, who's gonna pay the Hobgoblin more just to get this thing back? And it's so funny. And it's just like, oh my god, and it just works really well. And there are a few arcs that I'm not too fond of because like there's a whole arc with like the 6 Forgotten Warriors and like Captain America. Like that arc's kind of boring and kind of random.
That's the case for any show. Like any show will have some kind of.
That's what I'm saying. Every show will have them up and down arcs, but like other than that, they're all really good. And like it's a really good show. And I don't know. It makes me love Spider-Man so much more because like I love Batman. But, like, if I actually wanted to be a superhero, I'd be Spider-Man over Batman.
Oh, yeah.
Just because, like...
I mean, he actually has powers, for one, so...
That's what I'm saying. Like, one, he has power, and two, Batman does not like life. Batman hates his life. Spider-Man is living the dream, low-key. Like, he's poor, but he's living the dream. So, yeah, I really like that show. It made me want to be Spider-Man. And I thought The Spectacular Spider-Man, the show that got canceled, was better. But after rewatching this show, I'm a little on the fence about it.
Did you rewatch both or just rewatch?
I did. I did rewatch both. Because The Spectacular Spider-Man is really good. And although it only has one or two two very short seasons, it's the story of The Spectacular Spider-Man is really good, and the characters are done very well. But I think just because of how much you can only develop characters so much and how short it is. I feel like The Spectacular Spider-Man was as long, it'd be better. But I think the original, the 90s cartoon just holds up better just because you see so much development between Spider-Man and the Black Cat and just every other character that's important throughout the show. You're like, wow, you are not the same person you used to be.
Okay, and yeah, it's probably what happened was there was some kind of legal issue with Spider-Man that made them have to cancel it or whatever, which is stupid. But
yeah, it was the whole Marvel thing and like, oh, we want the rights. No, we want the rights, and the show's like, can I still happen? And everyone's like, no, and there's.
You're too good for this world. You can't exist.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And yet they replace it with that Ultimate Spider-Man crap, but.
Yeah, now we got that new Spider-Man show that's just it's bad. That show was.
Wait, is there another one?
Yeah, Marvel's Spider-Man happened. I guess it's still going on. It started like last summer, and it's really bad. Yeah, just like watch like a YouTube review of the first couple episodes, and you'll see just why it's so bad.
Let me roast. All right.
Okay.
Number 7.
Ready to hear me gush some more?
Right.
Number 7 is Transformers.
Saw that going, yeah.
Literally, I think this might have actually been the first cartoon I ever actually watched.
That's fair.
I don't think I could like put into words just how important this show is to my childhood. Like, if I were to list all the main things that like made my childhood, Pokemon and Transformers would be the two. Like the first two I go to. Everything else would like be way down. Like these two are at the very top. And just, I mean, I can't even like really put into words like just how much I appreciate the show. First of all, they're giant robots that are fighting other giant robots. That's always fun. And like the show got the first season is really hokey. It's really, really 80s. Like the voice acting is just kind of not really all that great, but like it's kind of funny because of that. The line some people have to say is like just so weird, and the action is just really clunky. Yet at the same time, it's like it's almost comedic just how bad it is. But then season 2 actually gets really, really good when they add the combiners, the Dinobots, just more stuff with like other Autobots from space and just space travel in general. And of course it spun off and made a whole bunch of toys, which we collected a lot of as kids, and other sequel series that we also like. Pretty much every single age period there was a new Transformers show for me to love, even though some of them weren't that great. I could still find something to appreciate with every single one. And like I easily could just say that everything with Transformers is encompassed in this one entry, but really just the G1 from the 80s Transformers, like the main one that I think like is the main one that like I would say like is my favorite. And also the Transformers the movie from 1986, or I think it's 1986. Literally, like, not only is it just a nostalgia play for me to like that movie so much, like it is a legitimately just fantastic movie. The music is amazing. Like if you've been following the show, just some of the stuff that happens in that movie is heartbreaking. Then all the new characters they introduced are actually really good, and you get to follow them more in the following seasons of the show. And yeah, like I would probably venture to guess I have probably collected over 200 Transformer like action figures over my life. I might be highballing that a little bit, but like I honestly wouldn't be surprised if when in my attic opened up like multiple different bins and counted them. Probably about 200.
I feel that. I do.
And those things are expensive too. Like some of the big ones get up to $100. Like I don't know how my parents actually agreed to that.
$100, really?
Some of them got really big. Like the Unicron one, like from like the exact replica from the movie, like it got up to $100.
No, that was me with like lightsabers. I bought so many lightsabers growing. Like, oh my goodness, dude. Like I was basically Grievous. Like it was bad.
And this show is just the perfect show to sell toys for, because like with combiners, you can't just have one. You have to have the complete set. You can't like in some of the later shows. In some of the later shows, like after a certain point, like every character will get a new color design or like have an upgrade or something. You gotta buy the new toy for that.
There's a new one.
Or like the like re-release models of like old Starscream and Optimus and whatnot, so you have to buy those just for nostalgia factor. Like, and it's fun just to have. Like I never play with them anymore, but it's fun to just sometimes look at them and be like, I remember that, and just every now and again I will like bring them down from the attic or bring them down from the few that I still kind of have on display on the shelf. Like I'll bring them down and actually kind of play with them sometimes and just kind of reminisce. Like I remember why I love this so much. It's not just the fact that I like the show, either whether ironically or legitimately liking it, just how much pleasure it gave me as a kid. Even now, I appreciate this show so much. The only reason it's not higher is because the show itself is not that good. Just honestly, it's not that great. But just for
it's your show, though.
Yeah, for how pivotal it was for my childhood, it had to be at least number 7. So
right,
yeah,
I completely understand. Oh my gosh. See, now I'm thinking about shows from my childhood. I'm like, man, that's not on here.
Still time to change it.
No, we're too far in now.
Okay.
All right. So my number 7, I put on here Gravity Falls.
Nice.
And here's the thing: Gravity Falls.
It hurt me. It hurt me not to put this on the list. It's not,
I know.
it's not my top 10. I feel
It's
so bad.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. I understand. But dude, it's so like okay, the thing about this show is one okay, I'm not one usually for mysteries. I'm really not. But this show had me hooked immediately.
Yeah.
Like I gotta know exactly how the whole show ends, and the show just came out.
Like the show was like
crazy.
the first episode. Like it was just, it kind of set itself up for, every episode will just be, a new mystery. And the very end, Uncle Stan went into that door behind the vending machine. She's like, what the heck is that?
Wait a minute. What? He knows. And that's the thing. You're like, I'm like, what does he know? Like, what? That's the thing. Like, you just know. Just like that little bit is so much. And then you got the stuff with Gideon. And then, like, he's like, wait, you have a journal too? It's like, there are more of them? And you're like, oh my God, dude. So, wait, okay, first of all, have you seen it all?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I just want to make sure. I didn't want to ruin it. I didn't want to be ruined. I don't want to be that guy. But, yo, it's so crazy. Cause, like,
hang on, one thing. I'm going to throw some shade real quick. The main reason it's actually not in my top 10 is because I have seen it all. The way the last half, or the way the second half of the last season worked, it just didn't finish the way I would have liked it to.
Yeah,
the last 3 episodes felt really rushed, even though they were like an hour apart each. And the show, it was supposed to get 3 seasons, but because Disney is stupid and they didn't let Alan Tudyk write out his vision, just they had to rush all the Ford stuff, and like it felt really messy there at the last half. So everything up until Not What He Seems is perfect. Everything after that, it just seems it just knocked it down a few points for me, which I feel really bad about. But like go on. Sorry.
Right. And that's the thing. And like, you're not wrong. That's the thing. Like, unfortunately, you can't blame the show for that because the show didn't do anything. Like, it had to be done, or it just would be unfinished and it wouldn't be on our list at all because it's just like, oh, well, we don't know what happened, so I hate it. But, it's like I've never been so hooked by something and just you got to have more. You're just following along just every little bit you can get. And you just get dragged in by these little mysteries. And it's not just the mystery part also. The show is written super well. The characters are so good. And the jokes on that show are hilarious.
Yes.
The comedic timing, the weird people, the townspeople, again, I don't know what the trend is with weird townspeople, but it's real. Like, the people are ridiculous. And
one of my favorite images of all time is, like, especially from that show, is when Abel put on that sock puppet show. And, like, at the end of it, just the whole thing is, like, bursting into flames, and that one sock puppet is, like, falling in slow motion with Ave Maria playing in the background.
It's just like, how did
top and amazing.
It's like, how did we get here? Like, what is happening?
And also, Bill Cipher is just one of my favorite villains.
Dude, I haven't even got that, but like, Bill Cipher, dude, is just the most terrifying. Like, he's so like carefree, but so scary at the same time. Like, because he's literally like this like deity demon thing, but also just. He's casual about it.
Here, have a head that's always screaming.
He just does. He has no chill. He just does not care. He's just going. It's amazing, and he's so, and like, just oh my god, and just all the weird stuff that happens around the town, and like the multi-bear episode is really funny, and just. I just remember one time he's like, I'm not gonna kill him. Like, boo, and the dude's like, weak. Got him. And like, it's just, I don't know, it's just funny stuff, and just like, and it's just good kids like Seuss. Oh my gosh, Seuss. Oh my, everyone needs that friend who's Seuss. Like, oh my gosh, dude, he's so funny and just like, they're such good characters. And Grunkle Stan is like, he's like. half Mr. Krabs and like half I don't even know what the other half is, but it's something else. But it's so funny,
Mm,
dude. Like it's just
like
such a well put together
like
show.
he's weird and cranky and money hungry, but at the same time, like he's relatable and like you
Hmm.
when like it's finally revealed that he actually knows what's going on this whole time, like it's you're just tearing is like yes, like we want to see this guy more in the thick of it, and like after
Hmm.
everything after that, just yeah.
Yeah, it is really disappointing how it went, but it's still like I just remember like that episode where like they finally opened the portal and his brother comes like I lost
Lost
it. Like,
it.
I couldn't believe it. I'm like,
Like the
oh,
theory, like their theory was right. What the heck?
that's what I'm saying. Rarely, very rarely are these fan theories correct. It's like, oh, yeah, it's his twin brother. Yeah, sure, fine, whatever. And you're like, oh,
What?
oh. Like I mean, for at first I was like, wait, it's a clone? Like what? I was so
Mm,
confused. I was like, are we gonna do a clone? Is it? I thought, or actually, no, I thought it was like him from the future or something.
from the future. Yeah.
I think that was my first thought.
Mm,
And then because like he wrote the journals in the future and then gave them to him his past self or something, or like vice versa or something.
mm,
And then I was like, wait, was I right? No, I wasn't
yeah,
right.
but
But it was so crazy. It was so good though. And then it's just like it. The ending is really disappointing, I will say. But how it ended, I will say the ending fight was
the
still pretty
very last
entertaining.
episode I really like. But the
Yes.
two and a couple like before that were just
Yeah.
kind of, especially the one in
Yeah.
Maple's Dreamland was just kind of
Yeah. I was
it
not
kind of
really that
killed
good.
the mood. It kind of killed the
Hmm.
pacing. But then the last episode just went balls to
Yeah.
the wall, just epic.
Yeah. And I just love how everything came back too.
Mhm.
Like that is something I love about shows because
Mm,
like,
mm,
like when you have a show that runs like this and then everything comes back,
yeah.
it's really satisfying because not only is the show like, hey, we didn't forget, but it's also like that makes sense
Mm.
because I'm fighting a war against who knows what. Let me go get all these weird, powerful allies I've made over 2 seasons. Like,
Yeah,
let's
and I
go.
love how like the final fight just turns straight into a mecha with with the theme song playing in the background, just like it does in like the final
Yes.
fight of an anime. It's like
Yes. It was very anime-ish as ending, but it was just as epic. It was pretty cool. Like the theme song is
mm,
like and like the house is running, and you've got
uh,
like all these the
like that T
gnomes are
Rex
back.
fist and like all the other
Yeah,
callbacks that are like connected to it. Yeah.
so good, dude, so good, and just yeah, like it's really a good show, and
Mm,
I'm so disappointed that they had to rush it, but I'm still happy they finished it just because
yeah.
it had to be done. So,
Mm,
but yeah, that's Gravity Falls.
mm. Yeah, like I feel so bad for not putting it on this list, and like it definitely
It's
deserves it. But I
okay.
just yeah.
You got other stuff. That's the thing. As long as what you have, you still feel is worthy of being where it is, it's fine.
Mm, yeah. And like I get like most of these shows, like I said, are just basic nostalgia plays. Like I'm sure if they had come out
Mhm.
now, I wouldn't love them as much. But like if those
Right.
Gravity Falls had come out 10 years ago, I probably would be on this list. But
Mhm.
that's just how it is, I guess. So now number 6 is Justice League slash Justice League Unlimited.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't think I really need to explain to you just how good this show is.
You do
Um,
not.
like this show just has the best incarnations of all of these characters. The best Batman, the best Superman, the best Wonder Woman, Hawkgirl, Martian Manhunter, Joker, Lex Luthor, like Darkseid. I could keep going. And like it did kind of bug me the first like half of season one, really the first season of the show. It 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 kind of did a lot of assuming that you'd already seen Batman the Animated Series and
Right.
Superman the Animated Series. To the one point, Lex Luthor just kind of shows up, like in the
Yeah.
beginning of an episode, not to be part of the rest of that episode. And like that's the
Right.
first time you see him in the show. And like if you didn't know that this was connected to Superman, you'd be like, wait, Lex Luthor, that's like one of the biggest bad guys, and he's just here. But like
Yeah.
I understand now that like now that I know the whole story, like I
Right.
get it, but still it's just a little weird. But like once season 2 and Unlimited come, it's like all of these different stories from the comics, all of these different like supervillain team ups. Like you have like 4 different versions of Justice League, of the Legion of Doom. You have the Injustice League, and that one episode like with Legion of Doom with or I think it's Injustice League with Lex Luthor and the Joker teaming up with that other team,
Mm-hmm.
and like that
Such a
episode
good
is
episode.
peak Joker, peak Lex Luthor, peak Cheetah, peak
There's
Batman.
a-
Just every character shines in that episode.
I don't know. There's so many moments in the episode. So, like this, like the moment at the end where Batman gets free and it's just him and the Joker, and he's like, wow, and he's just casually behind him.
Yeah.
Like it's so good. And the thing I love about this show is that everyone is just awesome. Like everyone plays like Lex Luthor is the man. The Joker is hilarious. Like Batman is like this is peak Batman.
My favorite Batman scene is from that episode actually, where like Batman got poisoned by what's that guy's name?
Cobra.
Copperhead.
Copperhead,
Whatever. Whatever his name is. And
Copperhead,
like
you're right.
he's lying there on the examination table with Martian Manhunter there, and he's like, the poison is still working on your body. You shouldn't go into the field. And Batman just stands up and stares him in the face and is like, what are you gonna stop me? Martian Manhunter just like lets him go.
But that's the thing. Like you have to realize how much weight there is because one, he can read his mind, so he knows what he's gonna do to him, and he's like, no. Despite all my powers, my super strength, telepathy, intangible, all this stuff, I'm gonna not go against Homeboy in a bat costume because I know he's packing something ridiculous, which is like, man, that's Batman, you know? Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And like, I don't know, there's so many, and like, also not even just the moment, but it's also like the relationship, especially the superheroes build with it, like especially with Batman and Superman. Like as the show goes on, you see them butt heads a lot, which is great. And like one of the best episodes of that is like with that, I think it's called Twilight, where it's like their first run-in with Darkseid.
Yes.
And Superman has this like super badass moment where he's like, all right, Darkseid, look, it's you and me and the planet's exploding. We're fighting until we all die. And it's because
then you got Batman. It's like, Wonder Woman. Next time we let Superman charge, hit me really hard, and just jumps through the portal after.
I know, he's like Batman just go there, but like Superman just like gets up there and his theme music's playing like so epic. I'm like, oh my god. And while they're kicking the crap out of each other, Batman just casually grabs Superman and is like, all right, bye.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then also one arc I love is the Lex Luthor and Brainiac. I think that was a genius thing.
I never really understood exactly how they got connected. I might have missed an episode, but like it kind of felt like that just at one point they were just suddenly connected, but it was fine. Like I like the arc, but
right.
Yeah.
I think it was just like, oh god.
And yeah, like how that arc ended with Brainiac basically taking over Lex Luthor's body and like him taking all the Justice League, and then Flash being like, oh, I guess I gotta save everyone now, and then just runs and does like 4 different infinite mass punches and just keeps running and just like that was like legitimately one of my favorite scenes from this entire show, because like in theory, like like Flash is super duper fast, like he should be one of the strongest members of this team, yet throughout the entire show he doesn't really show it all that often. Yet like in this moment where the whole Justice League is fighting Lex Luthor, Flash is the one who saves the day with like the most the most powerful move in the DC universe. Just
I know, and just doing it multiple times. Like I mean, he came like 5 times, like across the planet, and like I'm like, dude, that's crazy. And just I don't know. There's so many good arcs, and also I love the Cadmus stuff too. I think
Yes.
that was really good because it brings in like politics and like what's ethical and like it's all this conspiracy
A bunch
and
of
then they
Amanda
even
Waller
bring
versus
in
Batman stuff, which is always fun to
yeah.
watch.
Oh my god, dude, it's so crazy. Because like, Amanda Waller's so good, and like, he's like, oh, I wouldn't care too much, rich boy. And Batman's like, what? like what? You want to play a game? And like literally like the next episode, he's like in her shower. Oh, you want to play games, right? And I'm like, yo, Batman has no boundaries. But it's like, oh my god. And the question, like, and the whole like Justice Lord stuff finds out, and then Lex Luthor becomes the president. Like, there's so much good build up in that show. It's just so well put together. And like, yes, there are some episodes that don't advance the plot as much as others, but they're still good episodes. And it also introduces you to all these characters.
Yeah, like I didn't know who half of those people were before watching the show. And now Martian Manhunter's like my third favorite superhero.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's some, and even like the like sub like C-list heroes that they have, so like Booster Gold has like a bunch of episodes, and like there's an episode about like Vigilante and what's the night guy's name? I forget.
Oh, the night. Oh crap!
They're like best friends. I feel like
I don't remember his name either, but yeah.
But no, but like they're really good, and like there's like Green Arrow and Black Canary get some good parts. The Huntress gets some good episodes, and like it's just a lot of good character development.
Yeah, and might end with this. I really like how you were talking about the relationship specifically between Batman and Superman. There's that one scene, I think it's during the Shazam episode, where Superman and Batman are just kind of in the streets, I guess, in Metropolis, and they're just like fighting off random villains, just like it's nothing, and like they're just casually talking about like what they're gonna do with Billy. It's like,
yeah, that was literally the episode I was thinking of too. They're just casually like, and as they're talking, he like flips a dude while Superman punches him. Like, like they've been doing this for so long, you don't even have to think; you just kind of know what's going on.
Also, that show just in general has some of my favorite superhero fight scenes, like the Superman versus Shazam, like the final Superman versus Darkseid fight, like that speech Superman gives, then just gives like that huge supersonic punch to Darkseid that just destroys everything around it before Darkseid actually goes, and just then of course you have Batman like dodging the Omega Beam, because why not?
Because he's Batman. That's all the explanation you need.
And like I love how with like there should be a point where it gets old how Batman literally never loses. Like in every single situation Batman gets into, he either gets saved or like he gets out scot-free. And it never gets old. Every single time it's like he's Batman. Surely he can do this.
And the reason I think it didn't get old is because they didn't do the mistake of overusing the best characters. Because like especially in the beginning when it was just Justice League, Batman only showed up every like other couple of episodes.
Yeah, he was a part-time member. Yeah.
Right. Because like he doesn't even show up until like the 5th episode after it gets started. So like you're like, okay, we're like and then when it was a Batman episode, you were like, oh, it's about to come. Like like the one episode I love probably the most out of all of them is Wild Cards, where that's the one where the Joker has the original Royal Flush game.
Oh yes, the Teen Titans cameo. Yes.
Yes, and it's so good. It's just because one, the Joker is having the time of his life, which I think is always fun, and just that. Oh my god! And then Batman and the whole Justice League is Batman, and they're just casually like. It starts off like, okay, one bomb, we got this. Like, oh, there's not one bomb, and then Superman's like, yeah, there's 25 bombs.
Flash, get on it.
Let's go, boys. Like, they're doing all this stuff, and it's really good. And the Joker's just watching on TV and making hilarious comments the whole time.
And I love how there's a timer going in the bottom like the entire time. It's happening in real time. Like most shows will like kind of cheat that, but like it's in your face. Like this is really happening.
It's like, no, you will all. He's like, be advised, you will all die. Like, We are not, well, other than Superman, but I mean, pretty much everybody else will probably die.
Oh, and then the episode, the Batman Beyond send-off episode with like that super emotional moment where Batman like sits down with what was her name?
Lawler?
What was the girl from the Royal Flush Gang?
Oh, freaking, oh gosh, Ace, that's her name.
Was that Ace? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he just sits down with Ace on that swing and like, oh, like just
that did get super emotional.
Just little things like this show, like, yes, it is action packed, it is funny, but like it has quite a few like actually like heart wrenching moments. Yeah. Like when Hawk Girl has to kill Solomon Grundy for the final time, and like this one villain who like over the course of the show actually ended up actually becoming good friends with Hawk Girl, and then for his own good she had to kill him. It's like
it's like, dude, that's rough. And like and then there's the whole story arc with, speaking of Hawk Girl, the whole Thanagarian thing, which like that was crazy, and like there's so much going on. Oh man, so much going on in that show. Such a good show. All right. What? Okay. I'm all. What number are we on? I'm lost.
I think that was 6. So yeah.
Okay. I'm on 6. Okay. So my 6 was Phineas and Ferb, mentioned earlier, because so let me go for a second. This show, it's the simplest show ever, but it's so well done. It's amazing because, like you said, 3 things happen every single time. Phineas and Ferb create something straight up ridiculous every single time. Like stuff that should not exist, period, let alone kids build it. Second, and then Perry and Dr. Dewey's oh my god. Oh, like there's so many things in this show I love. Just about the jingle that comes on every time they go to this, and how it changes up depending on where they're at. Like, and then
every single episode, it never gets old.
I know, and he's got a different backstory every time, and there's so fun. And then the one where it all started on my actual first birthday. Both of my parents failed to show up. I was just like, I'm done.
Or like the episode where the flashback was, his dad got this dog that he named Only Son. When hey, he has a brother, an older brother, and 2.
Only Son. Oh my gosh. And then he has to, I mean, there's so many, he was the lawn gnome and it's like they reference other backstories. You remember that life scar, that emotionally scarred backstory.
That led to me becoming the lawn gnome. We don't have to get into that right now.
You already know that emotionally. He's like, you know the story. And and so many traps. I don't think he's ever trapped the same way once. There's 80 episodes, and I think he's trapped a different way every single time.
And I love how it got to a point where one time Perry jumped in and the trap was right next to him. It's like, Perry, you didn't. Do you mind stepping to your right just a little bit? It's Perry just okay, fine, and then he got trapped. It's Perry.
No, my all-time favorite trap is the one on the train.
Which one?
Because this is the one where he's working with a Canada person, and it's he's in the train. He's wait, you're trapped by societal conventions. We're in a fine dining car. You can't fight me. You can't throw a scene because it's not politically acceptable to make a scene in a fine dining. So you're trapped. You have to sit there. And he sits there. He doesn't move. This show is so smart. It's so funny because it's he's right. He's not wrong, but bruh.
Perry shouldn't care.
I know, but it's the fact that he does is hilarious. That's so funny. And oh my god.
I also really love Major Monogram. just in general, but my favorite moment from him is when they redid the first episode as a musical, and like they keep like in his song like Perry leaves and it's like, I always wish I could go out in the field. My whole world is a screen, and it cuts off. It's
like, no, we're not gonna do that.
And it does that 3 different times.
His brains do that. Oh my gosh, I like Major Monogram is when it's like. It's the episode where he teams up with Marvel, and he's got Nick Fury on the other screen.
I never actually saw that episode.
You need to check that. That's a good episode because, like, throughout the briefing, he like casually gets his own iPad. Like, no way.
That is good. That is very good.
It's so subtle. And just like, wait. Did you just get your own iPad? Like he's not. I just like their jokes in the show where like they'll do something funny and like the other characters won't notice at first. They'll start talking and they'll stop talking and wait a minute, did you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like that's so I don't know. The show is really good and just they're also one thing the songs. Some of the songs are actually really good. I will say, like usually I'm not a fan of a song, especially in every episode. But some of the songs are actually pretty good. Right? They're really catchy. They stick with you. Some are really funny. And, like, it's just, I don't know. It's such a good show. And literally, it's the best show to watch over the summer. Because when I watched it last summer, over the summer, and literally, my friends, when they came over, they're like, oh, Noah's smiling. He must have watched Phineas and Ferb today. And I'm like, oh, how'd you know? You know, because I'm also, because, like, one of the jokes my friends make is like, oh, he's a Noah. He doesn't do much like a platypus. So it's like, it's very within my nature to like, it makes sense that I do the same thing every day. So I don't know, but it's such a good show, and it's written very well, and like it should get old, but it just doesn't, and that's awesome, and that's just how good it is, Oh yeah, Phineas and Ferb is it's amazing. They're such good characters. Doofenshmirtz really good. Just the jokes, how it's written is so well. It's so well written.
Okay, so my number 5 is another superhero show that I'm sure I don't have to explain to you why it's so good. Young Justice.
Okay.
Yes, like, just the show, like. Another show that, just like Justice League, it just showcases all of these amazing comic book characters, most of which you probably hadn't even heard of before, in just the best way possible. And, like, I'm sure this one will come up later, but if you watch Teen Titans, you do know a lot of these characters, but, like, they interact with other characters from the Justice League and other sidekicks that you get introduced to, and the main reason why the show is actually above Justice League is because I feel I kind of like the art style of Young Justice a little better. I feel the interaction between Justice League and the Titans, or not Titans, the Young Justice, I kind of like that. I really like that rapport. And anything you want to?
I can jump in. Yeah, I can jump in.
Yeah.
One thing I love about Young Justice that I think is very different about the show is like I love how much stealth is incorporated. Like obviously, if you're working with just Batman and Robin, like obviously stealth's a big part, but like they utilize how important it is for any superhero to use stealth because a lot of times you think, oh, I'm freaking Superman, I don't need to be stealthy, but if it's a hostage situation or you don't want to lure, in this case, like political. Like backlash for like something you'll think about American superheroes invading, a Bialia or some other, foreign country. It's like, oh yeah, that would kind of be bad in the real world. So yeah, they have to be chill about it. They can't even be their actual superheroes. They just have to wear stuff. But like, I think that's super clever and like how they just implement all. It's like basically, it's like superhero training, like it's like superhero college basically, which I think is really actually kind of cool because it's kind of like we've all learned trips individually, like we each have a way of beating someone up, but it's not only training us to work together in the future, because we are going to be the Justice League someday.
Yeah.
But it's also like, hey, work together, but also live together. Just be a team from early. So by the time you're the one saving the world from Darkseid or whoever, it's not like, okay, let's figure out who does what. We've been doing this since we were 15. Let's go.
Yeah. And I was trying to, think of stuff we haven't already talked about multiple times on this show before, but, so I'll just kind of lay out. I think this right here is my favorite episode. The episode where all the ice villains create that. I think all the ice villains create that giant machine thing that's making just the entire world just covered in ice. And all of the Justice League and most of the team has to go stop that thing.
Except for one.
Wally West
on his birthday.
On his birthday. Yes. And just it's the idea of you really want to see the Justice League take on this giant UFO looking thing. But at the same time, when it cuts to that, it's really fun to watch that. And again, it's just kind of a microcosm of everything that's great about this show. You see Superman and Superboy teaming up. You see both the Martians doing their thing. You see Wonder Woman, etc. You see all these great characters, teaming up against this huge enemy. But at the same time, you're really engrossed by this other story of Wally West running as fast as he can across the country, and just seeing how he prioritizes things, like he meets Vandal Savage along the way. And ideally, as a superhero, you would want to take out this guy because hey, he is a bad guy, I should stop him. But at the same, after he realizes, wait, this, Vandal Savage is just trying to stall me. I don't have time for this right now. And then he runs. I really like just how he prioritized. It's not my time to be a superhero in this way. It's my time to be a hero and save this other person.
Right.
And I feel that episode just has every single element of the show just in one episode and just at their peak. That's not like a finale episode where they're all the budget and just all the effort went into this. I feel it's if I were to show someone, if someone hadn't watched Young Justice and I wanted to show them one episode to really get them into it, I think this would be the one I would show them.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why I love that episode is there's one line of dialogue that I love so much. It's right at the beginning where Batman's, breaking it down and explaining. He's like, KF, you won't be running with them. You're going to be running the charge with the girl. And he's like, what? I'm Mr. And he goes, who is this girl? And Batman just looks at her doesn't matter. And that's the most
Yes.
It's just he's so right though. It doesn't really matter. We're superheroes. This is what this is why we're here. This is what we do. We're superheroes. We save lives above all else. So it's dude, it doesn't matter if this is just, he doesn't, and finds out later, she's the, the heir to the throne or whatever. But at the time, it could be just some hobo chick. You don't know, but it doesn't matter.
So human life.
That's what I'm saying. And that's the thing. That, real right there. That's when it got real for me. I was like, yo. What, and that's the thing, too. And it's when you're a kid, that's one of the moments where, you have to learn that lesson. Because when, they're, 15, teaming up with the Justice League, something you want to do, he's been a superhero. That's amazing to him, but it's he's missing out on the greatest thing on the greatest. So obviously he feels mad, but it's also dude, arguably your job's more important because someone will 100% die if you don't come through. Period. Yeah. So it's first of all, check your ego way back at the teleporter because this is not what we do here. Let's go, dude. It's such a good moment, and Batman only has a couple lines and one action scene in the whole show pretty much. But again, when Batman brings it, dude. Yeah. And that's what I love. Because but I think the best opening to any of the episodes is the episode where Aquaman goes to Atlantis. But the beginning of the episode, the whole team's getting thrashed by Clayface.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
ridiculous. And then out of nowhere, Batman busts in, like dodges, and takes him down in one move. I'm just like, bruh.
He's had some practice.
That's what I'm saying. Like he just, like obviously he has the advantage of fighting Clayface. Who knows how many times? But like the fact that
Still.
a Martian, a Kryptonian, Atlantean, and a speedster, and all these other, all y'all got wasted, and then Batman just casually in 10 seconds one shots them. You know, like he just Batman's so cool.
Oh, yeah. I also really appreciate like how this show is set at a point where you can just kind of feel that a lot of stuff has already happened in this universe. Like boom tubes are already well incorporated into their daily life. Like just the way they talk about things, like Cadmus is already well established.
Right.
There's like so many things here and there. Like if you're a comic book reader, you can easily pick up on things, but like if you're just watching it, like you can still kind of follow it. But like I said, if you're actually follow the comics, you like really understand what's happening. And I really appreciate how this show handles that stuff.
Right. It treats you like you're a veteran, but also it's like it's almost kind of can like a handoff from the original Justice League cartoon in a way, because it's like a lot of the stuff set up. Like, granted, they don't have the sidekicks because like legal reasons or whatever the reason was, but like it's like if you could just imagine where the sidekicks would have been with the Justice League cartoon, they're kind of in that same spot pretty much. Like obviously, like Luthor's not president or anything, but like I mean he's like basically in the same position. Cadmus, like he said, is built up. Darkseid hasn't technically shown, but like Vandal Savage kind of takes that place as the big baddie.
Yeah.
Sort of, and like the Light was really cool. That little secret organization's kind of like an Injustice League, basically. Like, and the only thing I don't like about Young Justice in a whole show is the Joker.
I was gonna mention that. I don't know what they did there. That's not any Joker that I know. Like Joker generally, like if you want to take the Joker a different way, he's a Joker, he's a trickster, he's a gangster, he's a mob boss, he's a sociopath, he's a psychopath. That one is tech savvy and just kind of weird.
Yeah.
Doesn't really have any, like, he kind of laughs at weird things. Like, he's not really, he doesn't go all in on any of those, and what they do choose isn't really joke. I don't know why they decided to do that. Maybe there's some weird obscure comic I don't know about that they pulled from, but I don't know.
I don't know. And also, I guess, like, I feel like they had so much else going on, they didn't want to, like, this show did a good job of, like, a lot of times the bigger name, like the name brand baddies, if you will, were, like, obviously not around as much, because that's obviously what the Justice League, they don't put the top shelf stuff with the, with the backups, basically. Like, no, you guys are going to handle, like, instead of going against Solomon Grundy and, Bizarro, you're going to go against Blockbuster and Mammoth, stuff like that, so it kind of makes sense, But, I mean, but yeah, I think it's a really good show. It was a great idea, because, like, a sidekick show is really good, but it's like, they really went all in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, of course, season 3 is, I'm excited.
It's on the way.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, all right, my turn. Well, sticking with the sidekick and upcoming new season, I have the Teen Titans show as my number 5.
Okay, that's my number 4, so we can kind of combine these.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, you can chime in whenever. But yeah, love this show. Really good show. First, all the characters are done very well. That's really important. Like each of these characters, in their own way, make this show. And how they work together is what separates the good shows from the great shows. It's like Robin's awesome, but the way that he grows with his relationship with other Titans, and like how his relationship with Starfire and with Raven, and like and like how just how all of them develop and grow and change, and like how cool it's just. The show really did character development for me. Like, this show showed you how to develop characters, and like also how to do certain villain. Like Slade is still, in my
Like
opinion, like one of the best villains
second favorite villain
ever.
of all time. Just
Right?
Ron Perlman killed it with that voice.
I know. Just casual,
Oh,
and I'm like, there's cold and calculated, but Slade just never, just did never phase. Just
mhm.
always like, is that really the best
One
you
of
can
my
do? Like
favorite
the voice.
animated moments of all time is during the Trigon arc where he's just walking towards Raven and she's throwing everything at him and
Hmm.
he's just knocking it
Casually.
away and just the whole place is burning around him and just that image is just oh that is just so good.
Dude, when Slade came back, I about
Mm.
pooped my pants. I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
no. And just like, I think one thing I love, the thing I love about like the relationship between Slade and Robin, and just how insane Robin went to take down Slade in
Mm-hmm.
multiple like episodes. It's just I love it. Like that is those are the episode of Teen Titans I love the most.
Mm-hmm.
Robin just is willing to set completely cut himself off from his friends. Like he's like, I don't care what happens. I am taking this dude down. I'll become a villain. I'll do whatever it
Mm-hmm.
takes.
Even when
And
it's
it's
all in his mind and like he's going insane because he's
that is
thinking Slater's
such
still
a
there
good
like oh
episode. That is such a good episode.
like he
Oh
went
my
Pulp
god.
Fiction on himself Fight Club on himself and almost beat himself to a pulp over that.
I know, and like I think, and that's honestly my favorite episode, like Haunted, where it's
Mm.
all in his mind. But dude, like it's crazy though because it's basically a beautiful mind, kind of, because
Yeah.
like you know, 'cause, like for the longest time, you see Slade too, so you're like, okay, like he's crazy, but also he's kind of not, because that was definitely like because part of it's like, all right, maybe they don't see him, but also like, okay, Robin just got beat up, like his clothes are ripped, he's bleeding, like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa,
Something
you
is
know, and he's
happening
like,
here. Like, yeah.
yeah, you're like, you think I, like, you think I did this to myself, like, you like, and then like all this stuff's going on, and like how even from beyond the grave, assuming that Slade died, like I mean, kind of, I'm pretty sure he did, but came back, but like all of
Mm-hmm.
that, even from the grave, like the obsession so easily came back and just literally almost killed him.
Yeah.
Like he was this close to dying, and just like, oh, such a good arc, and just like, uh, and that's just one, and that's just one arc. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's just part of it. Oh
Yeah.
God.
Like, and every single season up until season 5 just gets even better. Like, season 1 is still, pretty good, but then season 2, you flesh out the characters more. Season 3, you add some action. Season 4, Slade comes back and you have more Raven stuff and you build it with like the villains that were in previous episodes like start teaming up more and like it just keeps building and building and like it just it I feel like this show just it took out like with every single season it took the elements of the previous one and just made them even better. So yeah.
Yeah,
Also
and
the art
like
style, like
yes,
it's like almost anime, but like not like kind of an Americanized anime. Like
hmm
I really really like that art style.
yeah, it's a really good art style, and like also it's like the humor they go for, the jokes sometimes are really, and it works well with the art style too, because
Mm-hmm.
they'll say something like in the background, they'll be like, or like,
Yeah.
something crazy is going on, but also it can get super serious, but then, someone will say a joke or something will go crazy, or like, just like, or like I remember the scene where they're fighting a bunch of Slade robots, and
Mm.
like they're fighting, and Robin just goes ape and just takes them all out, and then it just has all the other Titans in the corner, just like,
Yeah.
like yeah, he's like beating the crap out of each other. It's like,
I also
oh,
loved
it's a
the scene where like I don't remember what exactly the context was, but Robin was like determined to go after something, and like Cinderblood gets in his way, and he's like, "Okay, I guess take you out now." Like cuts to something else, cuts back. Cinderblock is like just destroyed, and Robin just like walks away.
Yeah, it's like, oh my
Like, you
goodness.
by yourself? Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and that's the thing. We've had episodes of all of us fighting Cinder Block and losing, and then Robin a few seasons later can just casually 1v1 him and just dominate. And I'm like, dude, I don't like. I know there's no like leveling up or anything because it's not Dragon Ball Z. But I mean, I feel like at some point, oh man, oh my gosh, like. And it also, one thing, it tackled a lot of big issues too, because like there was the one issue with like racism with that episode where that guy comes and like Starfire, he's like her race is like inferior or whatever. Like that was a big topic, and I was like it came out of nowhere, but it was also like, whoa, that's crazy. And it's just like the ability to throw stuff like that, and like Tara with like her being like, basically an orphan and like coming in, like of course, like Slade's evil. Like, well, to me, he's a father. He's the only, person that's actually cared about me. So like, you see her perspective. So,
yeah.
There's a lot going on. It's so good though.
Oh, you have that image of like of Beast Boy and Tara hiding in that house of mirrors, and then that image of just all of those Slades just surrounding Beast Boy. That doesn't even make sense, but I don't care because it's so cool.
Ooh. That got so serious. That was like the one moment where Beast Boy just like got so serious. Oh, it's about it was crazy. That's because Slade was so good at that.
Yeah.
Just bringing out this like animal in the other Titans. Like he was, because he did it with all of them at some point or another. It is. It's just that, and then just the face with the one eye and the so cool. And it's like and then when Tara turned on them and like when she was taking them down one by one, and then it was like, all right, one more to go, and I was like, oh, this is about to be so epic. It was like Robin was the last, like, and he's like, all right, where is he? And then out of nowhere, he's like, motorcycle like flies down. I was like, oh, get him. Dude, Robin was by far super cool.
Like I loved Robin before I loved Batman because of this show.
Yeah. Like you're like, dude, forget Batman. This guy is awesome. Such a good show. Well, you can go ahead and talk some more if you want. I know this is your 4, so if you got anything else to add.
I think we pretty much covered it all. Like, we can't really think of anything more that we haven't already talked about before or
true
right now. So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so I guess we're going to my 4.
Yep.
So my 4 is, we're going back a little nostalgic. My 4 is Tom and Jerry.
Okay.
And here's the thing. I love Tom and Jerry. Like a lot of people love Mickey Mouse. I never really liked Looney Tunes. I never really watched Looney Tunes personally. But I've watched so much Tom and Jerry. And literally, like, the thing I love about Tom and Jerry, it's so simple. Every it's so simple. Every episode's the same. Tom or Jerry starts messing up, the other tries to fight, something goes down, and it's like, all right, who's going to kill who? Like, pretty much. And just how it just goes from 0 to 1,000 so fast. And I use everything from frying pans to the occasional, gun, a bowling ball. There's so many creative, painful slapstick. It's just too perfect. And the thing, I love the show so much just because, growing up, I remember that was the only cartoon that made, my whole family would watch together because we all grew up with it, my parents remember watching Tom and Jerry, me and my brother watched Tom and Jerry. We would just watch it together and would just crack up. It's just great. And the episodes with Spike, the dog.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, dude. It was on steroids. Because, it was like he'd be messing around. And then Jerry's like, oh, don't let me use the puppy. He's like, Spike like destroys him, or like,
Hmm.
oh, there's so many good episodes, dude. And it's just that beef, dude. It's so great. It's so simple, but I just love it so much. It's probably high just because I grew up with it,
That's
but
fine.
I mean, like
Don't
that's how
apologize
it
for
is, you know.
that.
That's what I'm saying. But no, it's like it's Tom and Jerry. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I love Tom and Jerry so much.
Hmm. Anything more you
Top
want to
three.
add? Or you want to move on?
All right. Top three, man. It's about to get
Okay,
good.
top three. Oh, these are good. These are good. So number three is Invader Zim.
Mmm.
This show perfected comedy because I have never seen a show that knew exactly when to cut off a joke. Like, there are certain episodes where a joke can go on for just a couple of seconds and that's it. There are some where like a joke can literally go on for 30 seconds and it's funny the whole way through. Like
Mm.
the one episode in particular I'm thinking of is when was when Zim was accidentally sent those like giant leg robot and like have you seen this show?
I have seen some episodes. I have not seen it all.
Okay. And like every single thing that Gurr says is hilarious and it's cut off very quickly. Like one thing, as soon as the like he opens the box and it's like this like giant robot looking thing with like really long legs. He's like, Gurr, do you know what this means? Just like that. It was like what was that? And then Zim like explained it, and then when Gurney was like, I had no idea. Oh wait, but then as soon as going back a little bit, as soon as the box opened up, the first thing Gur said, it has chicken legs. And just like the way Gur says things is just, oh, it's so good. And then Zim, this robot can turn invisible, but the way it happens, it turns invisible. You can still see Zim. It's just like he's like floating as he's walking. So like he's walking across the street to go basically kill Dib, and he's walking, and he's like walking right behind a car that's stopped at a stoplight, and he could just walk around it, but instead the show decides for Zim to go, "Hey, lady, move it! Hey, 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 lady!" for like 30 seconds. Like there's no reason for him to be doing this. And the whole time, like Gur's just, oh, sorry, like Zim and Gur are just like floating there and like in the air. And just little moments like that just make me love this show. And also like you could scrap every other episode for out of existence if only the the Christmas episode. Have you seen this Christmas episode of Invader Zim?
No, I've not. I've heard
Next
about it
Christmas,
though.
if it's upcoming Christmas, you need to watch this because
The
even if
Christmas
just the
episode.
Christmas episode existed, it's the only constant of Invader Zim that existed. It would still be number three on this list. It is that good. I'm not
Oh
even
my
joking. I'm not
god.
exaggerating at all. It is that
I
good.
gotta. I am writing this down right now.
Yes.
The
I mean,
Christmas
preferably watch it
episode.
all, but like if you have to only watch one, watch the
The
Christmas episode.
Christmas episode.
It
Okay.
technically like acts as like a series finale, but also it's the Christmas episode. And again, like there are some jokes that just like that are very quick, some that go on for like seemingly way too long, but they still work and just and like they take all of the tropes that you would kind of expect from a Christmas special, but Zimify is really the best way I can explain it, and just the art style is just so weird and creepy and bizarre, and I love it. And like every time it cuts to like some random human. They're like either drooling or like have like some weird, like they're like doing something weird, or like there's one episode where I don't remember how the context was, but like this one planet is like kind of slowly descending onto Earth, and this one guy is just like has like a can of something on a picnic table, and the planet descends, and like and it lands on his can, and like and he can't like pull the can away, and like it takes and like it cuts stays on this guy for literally 15 seconds just screaming. He's like just like trying to pull the can away. Like
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, that is a show like I highly recommend. It is weird.
Oh yeah.
Like
It sounds insane.
it is like one of the weirdest things I have ever experienced, but like it knows it's weird. The creator is literally insane, and like it shows in this show. Like I highly recommend watching it.
Like, bro.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right. So I'm putting that priority on my to watch list.
Good.
So.
Good.
No, everyone's been telling me this show's amazing, and I'm like, all right, I believe it, but I just haven't sat down and watched it. Okay, my number 3, I've got Batman the Animated Series.
Nice.
Now, here's the
one
thing.
I actually haven't seen yet, so enlighten me.
All right, well,
I
you
just
need
haven't
to
got
put
around
this
to it.
Oh my gosh! No, I mean that's the show is it's so okay. So this show is the reason I like comic books. This show is the reason I like superheroes. This show is the reason I'm a nerd. Like, literally, this is like the 3rd show I watched my entire life. Like, it was literally like Sesame Street, Arthur, and then this show. It was like, for me, this was the Saturday morning cartoon. This is, if I was getting up, this was the show I was getting up for. You know, like, it was on, like, granted, it wasn't on as many Saturdays as I got older because it ended like 2002, I think. But like, it was still, I mean, I remember always going to Blockbuster, back when Blockbuster existed, and renting every box set, and like, oh my gosh, dude, like, and the thing I really like about this show is not only is like it tells great stories, has amazing characters, the voice acting is like god tier basically.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it's just like it's so good and it explains so I know I just said the characters, but like the characters are done so well. And like when you're explaining just why Batman, like I don't even words, but no, it's just, it tells all these stories, but they're not, and the good guy wins and like, like they don't always end on good notes. A lot of these episodes,
Heart of Ice is one of them I actually have seen. Like, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's one of those episodes you're just like, bro, that's how it ends. Like, literally, that's how it ends. Like, I mean, there's episodes that end with just, like, tears and just credits. And, like, there's no, oh, well, at least we said, no, we're done. That's it. Like, the good guy wins, but I mean, like.
At what cost?
Yeah, like, was it worth it? Should I still be Batman after this? Like, it's so sick. And like for a kids show to be going so in depth with all this stuff, and like, Mr. Freeze, for example, super tragic backstory. Dude's not just a bad guy. He's the good guy of his story. He's trying to say that, you've got other characters, and man, do we got some villains.
Yeah.
Yo. The fact that this show, first of all, let me talk about Two-Face. The fact that this show, for the first like half of the show, he's just Harvey Dent, and then he becomes Two-Face. It's like, it's one thing to have a character be developing and then go off a cliff, but to see this whole character, interact with this character, both Bruce Wayne and Batman have character development with this character. and then he turns to the dark, he turns evil. It's like, bruh, like, what are we to do, And it's so crazy, and just like so much to, and then the Joker, man,
Yeah.
like, I don't even. Oh my God. Not to mention, I mean, we'll get back to the joke because I need a minute.
Okay.
But no, but even I mean the joke, but like even joke, but just like, and even like this show created Harley Quinn. Like the reason that character exists is because the show's like, hey, let's give the Joker a girlfriend / sidekick, and Bruce Timm's like, do it. And now Harley Quinn,
popular DC characters, because
exactly, that's what I'm saying. Because why not? And now she's huge, just because the show decided, yeah, sure, why not? Let's sell another toy, like,
Yeah.
Honestly, but yeah, like, I mean, that's amazing, and like, it's just the show. It's such a dark tone to, like, granted, Batman's never been the most lighthearted unless you go to like the '60s show, but like. It's such a dark, different tone, and the art style is so drastic from everything else because they drew it on different darker paper, and that made everything just dramatically darker, and the tones are darker, and just it's so good, and it's like so good, and the development from you watching Robin, and then when Robin kind of just becomes Nightwing, and dude, Nightwing, other than the mullet.
Yeah.
Which I don't like. But
yeah, he didn't have the mullet in like the disco outfit, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he didn't have the disco outfit at least, but he did have the mullet.
Okay.
The outfit was the regular outfit, but yo. And dude, Nightwing had the best theme music in any cartoon. In my this dude had the coolest theme music ever. Like I still have that music on my phone. It's so cool. And okay, so back to the Joker anyway. Now, we all know Mark Hamill is, that dude when it comes to just playing villains.
Yeah.
But
ironically, he played the most iconic, hero of all time, Luke Skywalker, but now he's playing.
Of course. But I mean, of course, I didn't know this until far later.
Yeah.
But man,
just
the Joker,
just watch Mask of the Phantasm. You'll understand why Joker is the best villain of all time. Like, he doesn't even show up until the second half of that movie, but like, it's just like when he shows up in that guy's office and like,
it's just like, it's like this movie, like it's like they were just watching the movie and they're like, this, what make this movie great? Let's put the Joker in. And he's like, yeah, and then it's just, here we go. And the Joker is like is one of the best parts of that movie.
Yeah.
Because he's insane. Literally stabs a dude and like, all this
and laughs
crazy.
About it.
Why laughing? Yes, no, like they're both laughing and then he stabs the dude and it's just him laughing. It's freaking terrifying. But it's also like, dude, this guy's also really funny because he says some of the best jokes of all time for the Joker in that movie, and it's so funny. And he's just like, oh my gosh, dude! It's like that's the thing. It's the Joker, and this is the perfect mix of terrifying and funny. Like, I mean, I've never seen Heath Ledger's Joker, like 80% terrifying, 20% funny. And then you've got other Jokers that, try too hard to be one or the other. But this was the perfect mix of I'm afraid for my life, but also I can't stop laughing. It's unreal. Because the terror and comedy usually don't go together, but the Joker is the reason that it can't work. And it's this iconic character that from there, now everything, the Joker's, that show is the reason the Joker's used in every Batman, everything pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yes, he's the best villain. He's the reason he's the best comic book villain there is. I mean, that's the reason why.
And I love hearing Mark Hamill just talk about just like how he developed that character. Like he didn't even like really have an idea how he's gonna do it. He was driving to the interview, like just trying to think of the idea, and then just in his car on the way, he just the laugh just clicked, and like he didn't even know where it came from. It just happened, and like he went in there, and like the people were so impressed. Like we were gonna give it to Tim Curry, but I mean,
I mean, come on. I mean, oh, I'm so glad they gave it to him.
I mean, I feel like Tim Curry could have actually done a pretty good job, but like,
Oh, I do.
Like Mark Hamill, come on,
I mean, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, but sometimes it's just like, I mean,
it's meant to be.
yeah.
Like
exactly.
both of those actors, Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy, like
Mhm.
you could not have picked a better person to play either of those, and like they know it because they're still doing it today.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's been what 25 years now.
Yeah.
And they're still, and whatever they're playing, animation or video games or whatever, they're still the voices. And like, that's the thing. Like, Kevin Conroy as well, like, really got that Batman voice down. And one thing he does really well is that although it's kind of slight, he does a great job changing his voice for Bruce Wayne and Batman, but not to the over-exaggerated point that we've seen in some of the other the movie franchises.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it sounds just like a different person. But it's such a good voice. It's such a commanding, serious voice for Batman.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's what Batman sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't know, it's just, and like when I, like we talk about, like when I read comic books, I use their voices. Like I don't.
There's no other option. The only other option for Joker is Troy Baker trying to imitate Mark Hamill, doing it very well, but still, it's so good because he's imitating Mark Hamill's Joker.
It's not even his own source material. He's just, oh my goodness. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, oh, it's so good though.
I need to watch that show at some point. When I do the free trial, whatever, for the DC universe, which I will eventually, I'll make that a priority to binge that.
Do it.
Okay, now the elusive top two. Okay, I'm getting really nervous for your picks because I really hope they're the same, but like okay.
Oh, it's close. I'm not sure.
Number two, SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah.
You're number two?
Same. Yeah.
Okay.
I was this close to putting it one though.
Honestly, same though.
I really was, because I'm like, when I watch cartoons, the first one I think of is SpongeBob.
I said Invader Zim perfected comedy, but SpongeBob SquarePants, I don't even like. It's just on the For the record, we're talking about 1999 Chosen 5 SpongeBob here, not, anything after that. Like, very much, from Help Wanted to the movie. That's it. I can't even really describe, explain to you, into words exactly how SpongeBob is just so, I guess efficient would be the best word in its hilarity. But
consistent,
just
I would say.
Watch Band Geeks or Shanghai or Graveyard Shift or Super Friends or every single character is consistently funny. Every single situation is consistently funny. Some character interactions you didn't even know you wanted. Some in Band Geeks, Plankton is just kind of randomly there for no reason, but and he's just kind of going along with everything, and everyone's just okay with him being there, and everything he says is funny, and and just how certain things escalate, and it's another show that really knows exactly when to cut off certain jokes. It knows when to when to add new element, because in the Graveyard Shift, when Squidward is telling the story to SpongeBob, for most other shows, the premise of a scary episode would be, okay, Squidward is gonna tell SpongeBob this story the story is gonna freak out SpongeBob, and the rest of the episode is gonna be him being super paranoid and like being scared about everything, and like that's essentially maybe the joke will have like a payoff at the very end of the story, and maybe freak out SpongeBob or whatever. But in this, the way they do it here, Squidward starts telling the story, and like every single thing that SpongeBob says is a funny moment. Every single thing Squidward says is a funny moment. Like like when Squidward's like, and you know what happened? And you know what happened next? You forgot the secret sauce? No, like just like like it'll be like the serious moment. And you're just like, or like when Squidward's like right in the middle of the story, and then that guy, because like you kind of forget that the Krusty Krab is open 24 hours. You forget people are in there, and like he's telling the story. He's like, "Hey, can I have some ketchup?" It's like, "Oh, okay." And just going back to the story.
And I love the scene where like he's telling a story, and then SpongeBob's got like eating the popcorn, but it's just his hands because he's ripped them all off.
You mean like this, or this, or this,
or this? But how about this? Except he wasn't a sponge.
Except he's not a sponge. Yeah. So it didn't grow back.
Freaks out.
And then and then the very next scene after the story, like it must have just been like people, the writers were just thinking of like random things they could be doing. Is like, it would be funny if SpongeBob was mopping the ceiling. That'd be funny. And it was like, it shouldn't work, but just the way they did it, like it started with like this weird noise happening. Clover's like, what is happening? And then it pans up, SpongeBob is mopping the ceiling. It's like okay.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And in Shanghai, the perfume department, just pure genius. Just I can't even describe just how good that is.
It's so good because it's so random, but it's so relatable, and you're just like, oh my god! And like,
I have an idea. Let's leave, but the door is locked, and the only way out is through the perfume department.
I love the one part where they're like running through, and like SpongeBob jumps over one cloud of perfume. It's like in slow motion, dude.
Or like he like rips off the mask and still sprays them.
Oh,
it's like a freaking war zone, but they're still playing like the mall music in the back.
And like that same episode, and like he's like, "I'll give you 3 wishes." Wishes? I wish we knew that earlier. I'm like, 5.
Okay, 2 wishes.
2 wishes. We still got 2. I wish Squidward was here to see this. 2. Oh, I'm home. Teleports back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh crap. Oh my gosh. Like, so many good episodes, and it's just written so. Everyone's so funny. Like, oh my god. It's like SpongeBob, land on your bottom like this. No, your other bottom. Don't you have to be stupid somewhere? It's like not so far. Casually.
And then like the gorilla. The gorilla.
Okay, I have to admit, that's probably the weirdest ending to any SpongeBob.
It is, but I love it. I don't care how weird it is.
It's weird. It's just like, what? All right, it's a gorilla, and then the zebra. Giorgiano, he rides the zebra off into the sunset, and we're just like, all right. So the creators just decided, you know what? We don't know how to end this episode. So
I wouldn't.
I mean, that's fair, but it's just like, all right, that's how it ends. I mean, that's just how it ends. And yeah, and we're just like, all right, SpongeBob, go right ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So good. And also, I want to also point out just the iconicness of a generation SpongeBob is. Because SpongeBob is probably one of the only shows where you can just yell like any obscure SpongeBob reference, and the whole room will know exactly what you're talking about.
Or like just kind of subtly start singing the campfire song, and then by the end of it, everyone is singing it.
So I was like, and like it shouldn't be any, it's like even like small stuff, like even like the episode we were talking, the graveyard shift. I made a reference to that show because like my boss asked me to stay late at the job. I was like, oh, that's cool. I'll just be working the desk at night, and literally the whole place lost it. And I was like, yes,
I got
thank you for
home
being cultured.
over the summer. Like I'm working at the burger place. I was I got home at around like 9:30 that night. I
Mm.
usually get home around 8:30 because we just my boss just didn't let us stop serving people until like 8:30, and then we could start. I know it's stupid. Then we could start, um, cleaning up. And like I got home and I told my brothers like I literally felt like I was in the graveyard shift. And then we watched that episode. And, like it was Squidward was so relatable. It's like it's closing time. It's like, are you guys open? Read the
Read that
sign.
sign.
I like a Kai patty with cheese and go fries. No, you don't.
Yo, I have been there so often, dude. You're just like, are you guys open? Doors locked, lights are turning off. Like, no, we're not open. But then the customers are so extra.
like I
Yeah.
like I felt so much like Squidward that night. Like why are we still?
Why are we still here? Don't let these people in. Get out.
Well,
Oh,
fine if you don't want my money. That was literally my boss that night.
still have-
And then of course, like just like Mr. Krabs, he left before we were
Right.
closing. It's like I
can't
have a
hang out
life.
Oh my gosh. I just realized the Krusty Krab's been open 24/7 at least twice.
Yeah.
Hmm. Mm,
I mean, that kind of happened with later episodes of SpongeBob, where they kind of
Yeah.
started reusing ideas, but
Yeah,
whatever.
true, but
One thing that I feel SpongeBob did perfect is the best episodes of SpongeBob are the ones that are confined to a single area. Band Geeks, again, Graveyard Shift, the camping episode, etc. All of these are just in like one confined space, and they use that little space in so many unique ways, and it's just so good.
oh my god, or like Rock Bottom or stuff like that. Just, it's such a good episode. It's so weird, but it's so good.
Like camping episodes, they literally like there are two locations that entire episode. Inside Squidward's house, which is all of 30 seconds, and the
Right.
campfire. That's it, the entire episode. And they filled the whole 11 minutes of just that.
And it's so entertaining because it's just like a sea bear, and it's, try drawing a circle. And the sea bear comes back.
That
He's
was
got,
an
like,
oval. It has to be a circle.
like
What I do
literally.
that time? I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't like you. Pretend to be
Pretend.
somebody. I memorized that whole episode. Let's be real here.
Oh, it's such a good one. Pretend to be someone else like me. Oh my gosh. He gets beat up. He's like, what? Why don't I just write down everything a sea bear shouldn't do to attract a sea bear? Like, don't do this. Don't stop your feet. No one's like, don't eat cheese. Sliced or cubed. Like, they're confused.
Cute, this is
Yeah.
fine.
Sliced is fine. Okay, yeah. So fun.
If sea bears really exist, why didn't one show up? Maybe it's because you're not you're so rare in a goofy fashion. Oh, how silly of me! You mean like this?
This?
No, like that.
Like, oh. Joe Ben is like, oh, yeah, you crazy? I'm not getting that circle. I'm running for my life. No.
Sea bears hate running. Because I'll just limp home then. No,
No.
they hate limping more than running. Probably should have warned you about crawling.
He got beat up so much in that episode. Oh
Oh,
my gosh, we could talk about SpongeBob all day.
that show is just it's just so good. And
I
it
miss it.
sucks that like just like Fairly Odd Parents, future episodes really delve into the whole every character is only their trope and that is it.
Right.
Patrick's the dumb one. Wilbur is angry. SpongeBob's happy all the time. Mr. Krabs is money hungry. Sandy is smart. That's all they have. That's their entire
Right.
character, and that really bugged me. But
Mm.
from the episodes that are actually good, just perfection. So yeah.
Shall we run through the honorable mentions before revealing number one?
Sure. So we already talked about Gravity Falls. Adventure Time. It recently ended. If you haven't seen the finale, you should totally watch that. Regular Show, Amazing World of Gumball, Ben 10, Steven Universe, Ninja Turtles 2013, Rick and Morty, and have you seen Generator Rex?
I've seen some of it. It's been a while.
Okay, yeah, that's one show I recommend. Yeah,
is that really good?
I thought it was pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So mine, I've got Batman Beyond. That's one of my another one of my favorite shows growing up. I got Justice League on there, Young Justice, Static Shock. Have you ever seen that show?
I've seen some episodes. Yeah.
That is a really good show. I really like that show. Yeah, like Regular Show. I've got Kim Possible. Really good show. I love that show.
Oh, American Dragon Gym Club. That's another one that should have mentioned.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Oh my gosh, I think that's all. Oh, also random, but Daria. It's an older show, but on MTV. It's the weirdest humor, but it's
very dry but good, right?
Yes, yes. It's because like I was watching it, my brother's like, "Why are you watching?" So like, dude, just sit down, you'll get it. And like 2 episodes later, my brother loved it, and he's like, "Yeah, I see why you like this show."
I haven't actually seen an episode, but I've seen like clips, and yeah, it's pretty funny. So, yeah.
It's really good. It's just like there's so much. It's classic, but it's really good.
Again, like I feel really bad, especially about things like Regular Show and Adventure Time not being on this list, but
it's like
there's so many good shows. I just
that's the thing. Where would I put it? You know,
like I wanted to put Phineas and Ferb higher, but like they just like that and Kid Next Door, they just couldn't quite reach the Transformers threshold, and like Justice League just had like most of my favorite characters of all time in there, and like Young Justice and Teen Titans, like it just because all of these shows exist, Phineas and Ferb couldn't be higher than that for me. But yeah,
I know, and it's
the race, I guess.
I mean, and that's the thing when you have so many people, not so many people, so many shows. It's just like something can't. We only have 10. Something has to be left off. I mean, that's just how it is. We don't also love these shows, but it's like I had to do something, right?
Yeah. Well, if you've been doing the math and have been a fan of this show at all, you could probably guess that our collective number one is Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Where do I begin?
I don't think this is a bold statement. Avatar: The Last Airbender is objectively the best cartoon, if not show, ever created. Objectively speaking, try to find a flaw. I dare you.
I would say cartoon, yes. Show, that's where you get tricky, because then you have to like live action shows, stuff like that. But like, yes, cartoon. I agree with you. It's the great. Well, obviously it's on my list, but like, it's literally like, oh my god, it writes the book on like character development, but it also writes the book on how to tell an engaging story. Like, it masters multiple aspects of how to make a great show. And that's the thing that makes it so good, because you've got all this greatness together in one show. Plus, it's a unique, very cool idea, very original. The characters, super likable, super adaptable. You like them over time. They change. Some of the iconic scenes. It's beautiful. It's got everything. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Like, most people would probably consider it like an action show, but I would argue that it's a story and character show. It's like a story show first, and every single fight only takes place because the story dictates it to. For a lot of action shows, they just have a fight at the end because there needs to be a fight, and like generally like they do sometimes, but like a lot of the times a fight just kind of happens. Whereas in this show, literally every single fight happens because characters interact in a certain way, or like the actions of different characters led to this happening, or like they need to have the action scene in order to save somebody. Like the characters and the story and plot and whatnot drive the action forward, not the action driving the plot, which I feel is very important for a show like this.
Right. Oh my gosh, yeah, and it's so good because like the action isn't forced, but when it does happen,
Mm-hmm.
it's never wasted action. It's always really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and the way one thing I love about the action sequence is like each different kind of bender has totally different fighting styles.
Yes.
Like you watch the majority of Aang's fights, most of the time he's dodging and just moving out of the way. He's being like the wind. He's just moving out of the. Like I love the scene in one of the like a season 3 episode where it's like that school guy wants to fight him and Aang literally beats him and doesn't even touch him just by
he like beats
moving
himself
around.
almost, yeah.
Exactly. You know, the classic, oh, he couldn't even control his movements and stuff like that. Like that's how airbenders are. Not only does that show his pacifist way as they are, but it also shows how he's able to move like the wind, so to speak. So it's like it perfectly personifies what he does. And then like the firebenders also obviously are like very aggressive, like fire. They once they get something, you know, and like it's also like their bending. It can also be like almost a representation of who they are as a people, because like Fire Nation, and once they get a little bit, they want to take over everything. Just like when fire catches on a little bit, it wants to burn everything it can. So it's like, you know, and the Earthbenders don't want, you know, they stand strong like rocks, don't want to be shaken, but also their fighting style is very like strong movement, slower but much more physical,
having stances that can't be knocked over easily and stuff.
Exactly. A lot of balance. And waterbenders, they're either the flow with, but they're also good at redirecting and stuff like that. Like it's just a lot of it's a symbolism, and like how things work together is so beautifully done. Like you can tell so much work and effort was put into this show, and it pays off tremendously as the show gets going, and it's a great time.
Yes, like we've talked about the show many times in the podcast before. Like we could gush on the show just like SpongeBob. We could gush about the show for days or even months if we had the time or energy to do so. Like I honestly, I think the only thing left we really could talk about was just like the only thing we could really add was just ranking our top 10 favorite episodes. Wink, wink.
I mean, I feel like I'd have to rewatch the show again.
I rewatched it pretty recently, twice actually, pretty kind of recently.
I haven't seen it all the way through since I think freshman year. I think so. I think I
The
probably
Blu-ray's out.
Again.
So
the Blu-ray is.
yeah.
Well, I'm about to say I might tell my friends, hey, so you want to get me a birthday present? I'm that guy. But no, like, oh yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, the show has a lot of rewatchability because although it is one long story, it never feels stale.
Yeah.
Like it's never
there is very, very few episodes of like filler. Every episode that kind of feels like filler really has like a point in the end, like either a character's introduced or like the team learned something new about bending or the history of the nation or whatever, and that has payoff in the Eclipse arc when, you know, every character they met, even in the filler episodes, came back to help in the end. So like, yeah, eventually there's like maybe 2 episodes for the entire series I could argue you could skip, which is pretty impressive for a 60-some episode show.
Right, and the thing is, it's like the reason a lot of people don't like filler is, like you said, like the episodes don't matter, and a reason why it works so well is because even the episodes that don't directly advance the plot or like the effort of stopping the Fire Lord, it's still like, one, time still goes on. Not every day is going to be as productive as yesterday, just like in real life. And number 2, even though you don't make humongous strides, it's still, something of note was accomplished. There's
Hmm.
never a day that's not notable. And the thing is, like, if there are days that aren't notable, they just don't make episodes about them. Because, I mean, granted, the show takes place over a year, which is kind of insane when you think about it.
Yeah, like
But
a
at the
lot
same
happens
time,
in that
yeah,
one
that's what I
year.
mean. That is a lot happening, like, but it's also like, well, I guess that does kind of make sense because, I mean, they don't get any older, really. They
Hmm.
mature a ton
Oh yeah,
in a year, but I
like
mean, then
Katara
again,
alone, like she's a completely different person by the end. It's
oh, yeah.
amazing.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they all just have completely, not new identities, but just like they see their perspectives on life are so much
Hmm.
different. And it's just like, and understand that that's what war will do to you, especially when you're in that age group. Like, you're in that almost like trying to go from being a child to eventually an adult. So, like, going through as much as they all went through, it's like, yeah, I could see how you would change. But it's just how they changed and how they changed together. That's
Hmm.
the thing I like is especially in the third season, the beginning, how they go through experiences together and they both change as a result from this. That's something that's really cool. And that's something you don't see from a lot of shows. Usually you'll see one character have a transformation at a time. So much of that's good, right? The villains
Mm.
are really
Mm.
good. And like Azula especially is just like this super oh my god, we don't have time, but oh my god. This out like an outstanding antagonist. Like simply just the perfect, cold, calculating, super manipulative, super strong, like just again firing on all cylinders as a villain. Like
Hmm.
she's super confident, knows how she's gonna tear you apart. Explains to you how she's gonna tear you apart. Explains to you while she's tearing you apart, why she's tearing you apart,
I
and
love
just
the
like
I love the scene uh the beginning of the Southern Raiders episode where Azula attacks their camp and Zuko's like, Azula, why are you here? Um, what does it look like? I'm celebrating becoming an only child.
no, just like I know you got sibling issues, but bruh, that's like, oh my gosh, and like, and she's just so good, and like how she can just coerce people through manipulation and fear,
Hmm.
and just like, especially
Like,
when she's so young, but she's like a prodigy, so it's
yeah, she's over
like,
14, 15, something like that.
yeah, but she's just, I mean, she's already like an amazing bender because her fire is blue because her like precise focus on bending or something makes it even
Hmm.
hotter, which is ridiculous. She's
Yeah.
already ridiculously strong, but it's like, oh man,
Mm. Mm. And honestly, firing on all cylinders is kind of the best way to describe every aspect of this show. So,
yes. Pun totally intended, by the way.
okay, yeah, I figured. I figured.
Yeah, but I mean, no, I mean this show literally does just about everything as good as it can,
Hmm.
and it does the perfect balance of going just long enough because the
Yeah.
way the show works is the show exists. The whole point of the show is to stop this bad guy from
Hmm.
taking over the world. And that sounds very generic, but how they go about doing it, how the main villain from the very beginning isn't really in the story till the end
Yes.
anyway,
Yes.
is very, very dumb. Because in the first season, the enemy is Zuko. In the second season, it's Azula and her posse. In the third season, it's like half Azula. And then, oh, yeah, by the way, the whole reason we're here
Hmm.
is also the villain. So
Yeah.
like, it's a great build up.
I also really like, if you're like really paying attention, this show has a lot of parallels to the original Star Wars trilogy, which is never a bad thing.
No,
Like
it's not.
the first season, like if you just kind of, watched only the first season, it kind of wrapped itself up very well. Like you could just kind of imply the story kept going yes, there was a cliffhanger, but like if the show stopped there, like you would be fulfilled, just like the first Star Wars movie.
Right.
And then the finale of season 2 was very Empire, like extremely. Like Aang went off to the Guru. Um, his friends got captured. Aang went back before completing his training to stop them. They almost won, but then everyone died.
And then it's like, yeah, like they were doing great, and then the good guys got wrecked.
Yeah. Yes, and then in season 3, like the true villain comes out of the shadows, and they eventually have to go stop him. Like the parallels are very strong, and like I said, that's not a bad thing.
So yeah, it does it really well because I mean that's the thing about the original trilogy. It does an amazing job with the art of storytelling, and Avatar is like, hey, we want to be good at storytelling, and it's not to the point where you're like, wow, they obviously ripped off Star Wars, which I mean they didn't, but it's obvious that they were inspired by it. But it's also like they do it obviously in their own way, and it's not completely like that. It's just kind of how the arcs.
Yeah, like if you hadn't like if you don't like notice it, it's not well. I guess noticeable, but if that makes any sense. But like, it's not like they straight up like have the same names or they like there's beat for beat. It's just like the ideas, like, and also those movies are like 30 years old, so like they've inspired a lot of other things. So it's not just this show that takes inspiration, but
Right.
I mean Star Wars did it very well, so why not take from the best?
Right. But yeah, this show is mad. Because the thing is, when I first saw this show, I saw a couple episodes of it on TV, like out of order. Just I'm like, man, it's such a cool idea. People can use the elements, and like I thought it was a great idea. But it was until I like watched it separately in order when I realized how amazing of a story this is, and just how engaged you become with these characters, and how much you grow with them, and like realizing like along the way, like the best characters, like when the show starts, like half the characters from in the end aren't even in it.
Yeah.
Like the show, like Toph doesn't even show up till season 2, or Azula, or like like some of the best characters aren't even in it, and like the main characters that start from the beginning, they change so much by the end. Their development's so great that it's like they don't even seem like the same characters that started out. They've grown so much. They've gone through so much. They've done so much. Like, and also one thing, I love that the bending improves too. I think that's also something that was really cool, because not only does Aang learn more elements like he's supposed to, but along the way, Katara gets a lot better at bending. She, because at the beginning she was just like the first episode, she's just kind of get a fish in the water, and then by the end of the season, she's stopping rain because
not even in the full moon, she's just stopping rain just because.
That's what I mean, just casually stopping rain. I mean, and like Toph obviously with metal bending, super good at earth bending. Fire. Zuko gets better as a firebender because he uses a different outlet for his firebending, the original way, and like it's so like there's so much growth and stuff, and it's the bending's the best visual representation of the character's development, which is amazing. And even with Sokka, he doesn't necessarily have bending, of course, but like he gets a sword, which is kind of like, okay, I guess he doesn't need a sword, but it's more of a symbol to me, just that he's also gone through it, because the sword is also like a symbol of leadership, and that's kind of his like role. He's the oldest, he's the leader, he's usually got the like you don't think about as much, but like when you think about the best ideas they've had, like 90% of them have been Sokka's ideas.
Yeah, like the entire Eclipse invasion was basically his idea. So.
That's what I'm saying. Like there was a bunch of arcs based on his ideas, like, and not all of them work out perfectly, but I mean even the men in the tribes are like, hey, this 15-year-old has a good idea. Let's roll with that. Like obviously he's got a gift for, planning, leadership. So it's like it's his own thing. So it's not like he's just that guy who's comic relief. Like he's got a serious role, which is really important.
Yep. And I feel we would be remiss if we didn't at least mention Uncle Iroh in this discussion.
Oh,
Like literally one of my favorite
God.
characters of all time. Like
So much wisdom.
just as the show goes on, you learn more about this guy. You learn like his hangups with the Fire Nation. You learn like his backstory, and you just and it's kind of interesting to think about. The only time he ever actually attacked the gang was in the very or second episode when they're flying away on Appa. Like him and Zuko shoot after him. That's the only time he attacks them. And like and yet he's still kind of lumped in with Zuko as the enemy. Yet
Mhm.
he never like really did anything that bad. So
Right.
when he meets up with Toph, who like Toph had never met him, and like they had never met each other in any capacity, and just they have their discussion, and then that leads later to like, oh, I know this. Like, what you know him? Like he tried to attack us. Like he's not a bad guy. Like Toph, like they just
Yeah, vouches for him.
like you realize, hey, like yes, he is helping Zuko to hunt down the Avatar, but he's doing it because he loves Zuko basically as a son, and he
Yeah.
wants to help him, find his true self, and like just, and then outside of just how awesome his character is, just him destroying the wall of Ba Sing Se,
Mm.
him doing the thing, it took a giant drill, multiple hours to do. Maybe even it didn't even like really have specific how much time that was there. Maybe even like hours. Sorry, maybe even like days it was going through. It just just yes, just yes.
Understand. I don't like. Cause what dragon was it? Dragon of the West? Or was it? Is that what it was?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Something like that. I love that scene where he's just like Azula's like gonna tell you that. I'm like, I never did tell you the story. I did the Dragon of the West. Like, I don't want to hear another story. It's like it's actually more of a demonstration. Then casually like fired.
Mhm.
Like that got so real. I was like, I love
And then all of his training in the prison, like
it.
yes. And also
Pretending to be crazy.
this show is very good about like mirroring subplots with or B, A and B
Mhm.
plots, like in the episode when Sokka got his sword. It's showing how Sokka is improving as a leader, as a strategist, gaining knowledge while he's training with his master, while at the same time it cuts to Uncle Iroh training in the jail cell. Like
Mhm.
just that mirroring of each improving themselves, and that just it's just done so well. And then just like the entire episode, you see him working out, and then at the end, he rips off his shirt, and he just
Yeah.
ripped.
Jacked Iroh is like the greatest thing. Is like, bro.
And then you don't need to see him break out of prison, but like you would have wanted to, but just seeing
Yeah.
just everything just destroyed. And like him telling that one lady, you should get out of here. It's not going to be pretty. Just trust me. Just leave. Like, okay.
And she's just like, I listened to that one. Yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. Like, oh man, such a.
Yeah. Oh, the
Yeah,
the show is very, very good.
I think I gotta run through it again. Definitely, 'cause, like,
I definitely recommend.
I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I don't know how many times I've seen it already, but I mean, it never hurts.
Hmm.
Love that show.
Okay. Got any last minute thoughts on any of these shows we talked about?
We watch a lot of TV.
That's fine. I mean,
And I
like you
don't
said,
think
most
that.
of these we've been watching ever since we were like 2. So like,
Of course. But no, it's like, oh man, I look at these shows and I'm like, man, I remember a lot of scenes from all of these shows, and I
like
love
I can
so many
quote
of them.
from memory multiple episodes of SpongeBob.
Oh yeah. You're just like, oh yeah. I mean, the only show I can't quote is Tom and Jerry, and that's because
There's no talking.
they don't talk. But oh man, like cartoons are amazing.
Yes. So yeah, comment down below, some of your favorite cartoons of all time are. And with that, we will see you all next time.